And a champion will be crowned in a few short hours. We are here with the finals of MKWC 2026 for Mario Kart World. It is Japan, it is France vying for the top spot here in international play. My name is Spicy, joined on the mic with Captain America himself, AJ. How are we doing today?
I'm feeling good. This is going to be it's kind of the expected outcome because it's, what happens every year it seems like. But I still think this is going to be a great game and I'm really excited to watch.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great match here. You alluded to it. It is for some it's like the chalk outcome. This is what you expected, but both France and Japan had harder roads to get here than they've had in previous years. And in the end, it's this two teams who have a consistent rivalry for the championship here today, and it should be a fun matchup regardless. And AJ, I know the US has played both these teams multiple times. What are you expecting to see from these two teams in finals?
I'm going to say a lot of great individual talent. There are some of kind of the lower end teams. You can point to like two, three, four specific people who you kind of they rely on them to kind of carry to get them deeper into the tournament. But at this point, these two rosters, six phenomenal players on each side. It's you really can't look to have a favorite either direction. It's just going to be a great game.
For sure. If we get a chance to look at the rosters, that'll give us an indication here as we take a look and see what Japan's bringing for their six. Bakutan, Kaptaro, Kusan, Lees, Akashi, Purple, as alluded by AJ. This is a really deep top six. They've had a couple struggles here and there, lost to US, lost to Germany, and then having to go to game three against Spain, but still, this is a deep squad that clutches up when it matters most and is a not one to be underestimated despite a worse record than they typically have in the tournament like this.
Yeah, looking at this Japan team again, noticeably lacking Diane B, who I do consider the best player in the game right now. But you can't deny he was struggling a little bit in the tournament. And at this point, I know he's super young. He's not got a ton of experience. The nerves could definitely be getting to him, and you can't fault Kusan for making a sub like that if you feel like he's not really up to the challenge. But Bakuten, his replacement, still a great player, grandmaster, exactly what Japan needs to kind of fill Diane B's role.
Definitely, yeah. We get a chance to look at what's on the other side here from France. Well, on DR, Popov, Saru, Starlo, Valor, well, Ways. We were talking a bit about France earlier before we went live, and this is still such a great lineup all around here. Some of the best players in the world, especially in the Western scene, just on this squad. And it's, once again, top to bottom, just so deep here.
Yeah, you see, the core kind of four, I believe, the Popoff, Saru, Starlo, Valor, they've been together, that, same group of four for many years, and it definitely shows while they're playing. So having that kind of chemistry and then adding two individual great talents of Lol MDR and Will Ways on top of it, this team is incredibly strong and, looking very good coming into the game.
Yeah, France has only dropped one individual game to Spain way in the preliminary group stage. And since then, it's been unstoppable for this team. 2-0s in throughout the entirety of the knockouts and have just looked really strong overall. The 952 differential is a great indicator of that as well. Getting a chance to see that the room is opened up here. It will be Japan hosting match 1 and a match 3 if necessary, with France getting match 2. I believe it was determined with like a spinning of a wheel to see who's going to end up hosting the first match, and this is what it ended up being.
Yeah, Dylan spun the wheel about half an hour ago in the voice chat. There were witnesses to confirm it was not rigged.
Love that, love that. So Japan hosting here means they're getting first. It will be France in 2-3 and Japan then getting 4. So anything you're expecting track-wise from either of these teams?
Nothing too crazy, except for Japan's been going for Dandelion Depths as of late, which is kind of a track no one really likes. So them being the only one to pick it, it's definitely kind of their thing right now. So I'm sure we'll be looking, to see that track whenever they kind of need a big race.
That makes sense. I know against Spain yesterday, they brought out Dandelion Depths a couple times and had just massive swings both times. So if they ever need like that kind of trump card, it's great to have a track that other teams might not necessarily like here. Teams are getting set. I believe it's going to be Japan in the red, France in the blue. And you get a chance to see opening track selection here. Looks like Japan's going to be opting for Whistle Stop. It's Kusan on POV here. Seeing what France is going to be rolling with momentarily. They're going to be opting for a Mario Bros. Circuit.
Yeah, I didn't catch the starting spots outside of, the top 4, which are alternated for this tournament. But Mario Bros. Circuit, if you have a lot of those kind of upper mids to, really just anything after, 5th place kind of, you can have 2, 3, one of them go for a box, try to get those triple shrooms, one of them jump in, break the tires for, your just kind of swarm of players to hop on that rail and really get a ton of early front presence.
Definitely, yeah. But we are going to Whistle Stop as our opening track here for finals of the World Cup. Seeing who's going to be opting to stay in the back, who's going to be opting to go for these front run strats. See multiple people opting for rails here as well. As if spots have changed quite a bit so far. It looks like France has taken early lead, but it is just really close to call so far in terms of who's leading in this pack.
Yeah, so far it looks like we got France out in the early lead as at least one, I think 2 Japanese players bumped off the cut. But, track like this where bills are so strong, France, even though they're in the front for now, they're going to need to be looking to be aggressive and really try to expand that lead as we come up to these rail sections of the track.
Yeah, you're starting to see like the pack start to split up a bit here. Top 3 is already having a bit of a gap. You see that the 2 players from France make that 3 now up there in that top 4 and 1 from Japan. France notably also having that back presence until the bills are starting to move on up here. Kamek coming on out in this middle section. France has already established a sizable front run up with those top 2. Looks like second might have gone into Ghost there as well. And it's just solid overall here. Expecting to now see what Kusan, rest of Japan, is going to be able to do to just cut into this lead now.
Yeah, we see, the lone Japan player at the kind of mid to end of lap 2, Bakutin, getting hit off right before the NISC, which kind of just solidifies the France, especially first. You see him kind of gone at this point. Saru now playing the triple greens to protect him as well for the rest of this race.
Yeah, those triples are such a clutch pull, but Kusan ended up having the horn, and it's able to get into second place. First place is effectively gone here, but it's a matter of seeing what other items going to be in play now from the back to see who's going to be able to catch up here. Looks like it is going to be France in first, Japan in second, but quite a bit of France in like that upper mid pack there. It might be like a 1-3-4 for France early on.
I want to highlight after Kusan made that charge jump over the gap cut, I'm not sure if it's a new-ish thing, but I was actually just talking about this with someone last night. He landed in a drift as opposed to just ramming straight into the wall. Really good. It lets you get your momentum swung, towards the rail sooner to attach faster and like instantly get your momentum back at the speed, as opposed to what most people do and just run straight into the wall. And that's, part of why he was able to catch up right there to Saru to horn him, as opposed to having to deal with his triple greens for the rest of the race. So very good driving technique there from Kusan.
Yeah, that led to a bit of a help there for Japan there. They're down 8, or down 8 at this point, but obviously was hoping for a bit of a better race there. It was a pretty sizable front run up from France, who was able to just secure 1-3-4-5. Going out into Salty Speedway for race 2 here.
Yeah, this track, lots of the top spots from France. I believe all of the front row except for Kusan in second, which is really difficult to break into because Valor will have the fast line on the right. Although it looks like Kusan snuck past him and pulled a shroom to break away and get to this second item set faster. but on this track, you know, even the 5 and 6 are able to go to the left of that first initial brown box, so they can just kind of get every angle covered to maintain all the top spots.
Speaking of top spots, I got Kusan here with the triple shroom pull in set 2, and Japan now having multiple players up here, it looks like, with some shrooms as well. Kusan's got to opt for shroom strat onto the rail. Saw the bomb right before the box is there. Not sure if that ended up connecting anywhere, but Kusan ended up getting redded off here. See quite a bit of Japan. It's Lee's up here as well. Top 3 for Japan at the moment. Like that is Starlo up and forward. The hammer's coming in now, going to be connecting a couple times. Kusan has to opt for bottom path here, but has been able to do some damage to France, who's now starting to make their way back up into those top spots.
Yeah, huge awareness from Kusan there. He even slowed down a little bit to make sure he could throw them just straight at the wall. You know, because even if he doesn't connect originally, hammers have that lingering hitbox. So as long as he kind of throws it, sets them at the base of that wall, you saw 2 different France players run into it, and they're pretty much unavoidable in that instance.
Yeah, tough situation France players to be in, and especially when you look at now, it's a top 3 for Japan here. Japan has a player in last as well. I know 1 player is contesting for the 4th spot there for Japan too. France trying to see what they're going to be able to do in terms of seeing items that they can pull to maybe make something happen here within the last few sets, but currently it's a top 3-5 from Japan so far.
A top 3-5 and on the glider, so even at this point, Shock not going to be doing a whole lot for France besides salvaging maybe a couple spots.
Still coming in last second here. It's going to salvage a couple more extra spots. I know Japan's going to be getting last, but it's a lot of top presence here for them as well. They try to potentially just swap the lead immediately here. It's a top 2, 4, 6, 9 bottom, which is a nice comeback race here for Japan, seeing as the results will be coming on through, and it is now Japan with the lead here, up 6.
Yeah, great race from Japan. And, you know, again, the overwhelming front spots that France had going into that race, it can definitely be a little bit concerning, but they did a good job somehow, even on just the first turn, breaking into those top spots, probably getting a little bit lucky that France is bumping each other, I would assume, because having 5 of those spots and then 20 seconds into the race, enemy team being top 3, definitely a little bit concerning for France.
Rough spot for France to be in here. I know France is a team that can definitely just make counters immediately here. You do see Japan opting for a mix of Shy Guy Bazaar and Bowser's Castle. France going once again back to Mario Bros. Circuit, but we are going to Bowser's Castle here for the first time in this set.
Yeah, this track, another one kind of like Salty, where, you know, you can try to pick it for a top spot, and it's, you know, good if you survive this first 5-10 seconds, but very prone to being bumped out, especially on the bottom path, which is typically what you see a lot of Japan players opt for.
I have noticed that a lot of the players outside Japan have been opting for like, the different varieties of ways you can go onto this rail strat here, but yeah, a lot of Japan does opt to go for the bottom, and you see quite a few players taking the variety of methods to end up over that shortcut, and you do see quite a bit of Japan also up here. It's Kusan win first with a Shroom and Ghost. Well, Wei's notably up here as well with some triple Shrooms in the back. Have to be worried about it gets potentially ghosted here now by Kusan, who's right behind France's top 2 here. And there's the Ghost onto Wei. He's going to be pulling those triple Shrooms. And now it is a top 2 for Japan at the moment. It looks like it is Kusan and Purple up here.
Yeah, Kusan and Purple both with the Shrooms, which while, you know, there's only kind of that one really big shortcut, it's pretty big. It's a huge shortcut. It'll save a ton of time. Although, depending on what happens in the pack behind him, we could even see Kusan maybe opt to save his shroom in case of a blue shell comes. But it looks like his teammate did die out, so probably just going to be... Oh, no, he didn't.
Yeah, Purple's still right behind, which is helpful here in his top 2. So it looks like a lot of the upper mid pack has swung in favor of France, potentially a 3, 4, 5, or really just contesting for the spots. In the back, it is hotly contested there as well. It looks like currently it is Japan in those bottom spots with France now rotating on back.
We saw
Shroom there too.
Yeah, one of the France players on the map was driving backwards, and now that gave them a really poor respawn where they're now pretty much guaranteed last. So hopefully they can pull the shock. Otherwise, it's not going to be great for France.
Yeah, guaranteed last is never something you want to be seeing here. Now it's a matter of what items are you pulling. France is in a bottom 2 situation.
3 France players failed the first NIST there as well.
Yeah, that's quite a few spots there in the back for France. Japan still currently in like the top 2-ish spots. France in like that 3-4, but Japan's starting to pull away here with a potential top 3. It's a top 2-4, actually top 3-5-6 potentially here. Quite a few spots now rolling in favor of Japan as you see a lot of blue in the very back. Busan is going to cross the line, and quite a lot of Japan are about to follow.
Bottom 5 for France.
Yeah, top 5 for Japan.
Lee has passed on the line by one player, but yeah, again, you saw. I don't know who it was, but they were just, the end before the last item set, they just turned around and started driving backwards. I'm not sure what that was, and then that on top of 3 of them failing the first NIST just pretty much killed their race right there.
Yeah, it was just devastating combos as a result of that. Going all the way back there, poor respawn, and not being able to pull an item like Shock. And then with multiple players failing NISC, not really putting yourself in a position where you can really contest for any of those upper spots. It was mostly just all Japan in those top 6, and especially when we got to a point where the breakaway was getting too much to really overcome. Japan trying to just chain another track that they've been good at here, Shanghai Bazaar, after another solid win there. Now up quite a bit here in this match. Crown City, Mario Circuit looking like the options here for France, and it does seem like we are going to be going into Shanghai Bazaar now for our next race.
Yeah, this is kind of another track where having all the top spots is just so good, because if you just even opt to send everyone at the rail, someone will make it, and that's just guaranteed, top 1, top 2, maybe even top 3, depending on how lucky you can get of winning bumps.
Yeah, it's really just the opening here. It's just seeing who's going to be able to survive. And you see Kusan opting for left rail strat here as well. Being able to pull Coin Box just to get some extra resources in terms of front running. Quite a few players have made their way up top. Akashi now up here as well. And see Rakuten and a few other players now on this campaign as well. Just seeing where from France are we going to be having. LMDR did have that Ghost trying to push on up here. Pop-Off getting redded. And currently it is a top 2, maybe a little more here for Japan as we approach the cut at the end of lap 1.
Yeah, that was really good from Kusan there. He had a shroom with a red underneath. And, a lot of players would opt to hold that shroom because they want to, take a shortcut and try to stay up there in the front. But he opted to just instantly burn it, knowing Pop-Off had no item. He was guaranteed to hit him off the map and ensure his team a top 3.
And here we have Kusan with the triple reds right pulled now. So it's going to be even better to just protect your teammates at this point. Japan has moved up into a top 4 position as well. One player in the back. It is a sea of blue in the lower mid pack though. And once again, it's looking very similar to what it was by the end of Bowser's Castle with so many France players in the back. They're starting to make some moves up. Kusan does get hit out, but top 2 is essentially gone at the moment here for Japan.
Yeah, top 2 with no... we just saw France get out of the bill in 4th place, so if they didn't use Shock there, it's pretty safe to assume they've got nothing.
Yeah, you see France with multiple dodges high on up. No Shock, at least sign of it at the moment yet, though. It is currently first for Japan, second for France, and it's quite a few contesting actually up in those top spots. Player from France does get hit out right before the line. Japan player also getting hit out right at the line. So had to see how the spots ended up shaking out here. It was hotly contested at the end. It was dominated by Japan early on. But as the final results come in, you see France with a lot of spots behind first.
Yeah, good job from France there to salvage what was looking like a pretty dominant Japan top 2 at least. They used, their bills to catch up well, presumably had those shrooms afterwards. Good effort from the player in first on the line. They were able to back the French player who was coming up in second. And, it would have been a top two, but unfortunately their own teammate also died to something else. But really good attempt there on the back from the side of Japan.
Yeah, just honestly great efforts so far from both of these teams. Looks like it is a 34-point lead now for Japan at this point. So Japan's been sitting kind of comfortable, especially after that Bowser's Castle race, which is going to give them a ton of insurance. France able to just chip away at the lead now with Shy Guy Bazaar. So real interesting situation here with being everything behind first if you are France here. You see Acorn Heights come out as well as Wario Shipyard into the roulette, and we're going to actually be going to Shipyard for this next race.
Yeah, this track, one of the ones I would say most impacted by the new update, just because water is so slow when you're driving on it. So you get that much more value out of using the shrooms because it just gives you an even bigger breakaway as opposed to kind of a normal track.
And we also noticed that we are now seeing Huawei's POV here. We are going to have the France perspective here as well, which is going to be helpful to see what they've been able to do, especially if they try to mount a comeback here in match one. Will Waze did pull Feather, not exactly the item you are hoping to see at this point in the track here, especially with how strong Shrooms can be in the water, as you mentioned. Quite a few players going to be opting for this rail here as well. Will Waze is going to be pulling another item in the back here. It's going to be kind of the single Shroom. Quite a few players now just fighting for up here in this chaos. It's currently a 1-3 for Japan, and a lot of France in like that 2-4-5-ish areas. The back is also hotly contested.
Good play from Wazer to green out that bomb before it could get thrown back at him on the rail.
Yeah, I noticed that too. It was going to be really close there, especially with the positioning of where that bomb could have been there, just in that cannon there. But for the rail, it could have been disastrous for Waze, who's now found themselves still in that sixth-place spot. France still up there in tops there, actually, with Japan hot behind in 2-3, maybe a little bit more. Triple Banana is going to be a little bit menacing here as well as France tries to mount something. And now quite a few players actually starting to rotate around here. France in those top spots, always having to rotate on back. Has pulls Bullet Bill opting to pop in now as well, just to keep cycling through items. And you do see that Japan is now in last place, but France has now found themselves into a top two.
Yeah, and Waze notably not able to get even a single item there. So now, huge chance for Japan to pull shock and try to get back into this race.
Yeah, and we haven't seen quite a lot of shock in this war so far, so it's a matter of seeing how does it end up impacting races when it does get pulled here. Last few item sets coming into play as we enter lap 3. Well, Waze is having the golden as well as triple shroom, so a lot of potential to catch up here. France still maintaining the top two. Bullet Bill in last place for here from Japan. Just seeing what other items are we going to be having here. Well, Waze is going to be able to pull a Bullet Bill once again. Going to pop it here. France is maintaining a solid top two so far. Japan hot right behind, though.
Yeah, close behind, but not going to be close enough. I don't think there's anything they can really do to get rid of this top two at least.
Yeah, I had to see how the rest of the results ended up filling in. Looks like Japan did get a couple of spots in the bottom. That could be a great race here for France, who found themselves at a top 2, 5, 6, 7, and Japan with 3 of bottom 4, 4 of bottom 5, in fact.
A huge race from France there. Exactly what they needed to kind of start getting some momentum going their way.
Yeah, 16 points now all of a sudden. It was over a 1 race deficit earlier on, like not too long ago, with Japan up, I believe, like 42 points. And now we're suddenly down to 16. France right back in it at the end of the first half. And it's just been great ways for them to just build off some momentum, getting everything behind first on Shy Guy Bazaar, translating that into Wario Shipyard, which I haven't seen Japan play too much of in this tournament. So France just being able to kind of outplay, have a lot of opportunities to make something happen there. Really great for them. Do you see Airship Fortress now as another pick here for France? And you see Japan, there's a Dandelion Depths, as you mentioned, though one track that they will often pick there, but it is going to be Airship Fortress as the next selection.
Yeah, not a track I personally see too much anymore. I think people already didn't really like it. You know, the rail section at the start feels incredibly luck based, which is not inherently different from the luck of needing to pull items, but it feels much less kind of in your control when people just teleport on top of you and bump you off the track instantly.
Yeah, their opening section is incredibly chaotic here, and then add the shrooms that are getting buffed, especially now after the last update. And these first two sets in particular are just absolute chaos at times. And that's before we even get into the spiral section here. Kusan is in 11th with the crazy pull of single red and star. And now just seeing what they're going to be the plays here. You do see Japan in a bottom two situation for now. Okashi does have those triple green, probably just going to burn those soon. A couple players from France rotating on back. Kusan chaining star into a double here, as well as having the Mega going soloing around to potentially hit pop off the rest of the players down here from France as well. It is Japan up in tops at the moment in first place. Looks like a couple of action is happening there as France is going to take over top spots, at least being in first with Japan right behind, but so much is happening, at least on the mini-map there, as a bunch of the spots are being fought for right now.
Yeah, I think we saw the team in first change there like 3 times in the span of 5 seconds.
Sounds about right here on Airship as well. Dual POV in play now. You do see Waze up here in second. Red show right behind purple. Kusan having the golden shroom, just trying to burn it here. Ends up running into a banana for their efforts here. Has a few shrooms in play as well. Once again, top spot's hotly contested as now it's still a player from Japan as well as Waze up here. Japan looks like in a top 2 position here. Bomb coming on up, not going to connect as we are about to enter the glider section with Japan also having shock.
Yeah, they have the shock, but it's under a bill, so it's going to be a little bit awkward to use, especially by the end of this extension. You know, he's probably going to need to just spam it out to get any value, although his team will already be across the line, so maybe something to look for. Seems like they're just holding it, though.
Yeah, as you mentioned, right behind Bill, especially at that point, is very awkward situation to put it in. You want to take extension with the Bill, and especially because you look at this, it's the top 2, 6, 7, 8 for Japan. It's not like they needed to use Shock. They already have the lead there as well in the overall match. Shock hasn't been a big factor in this war so far, but it hasn't stopped Japan, who just adding to this lead now, suddenly up 28.
Yeah, great race from Japan there. They had, you know, other than that one, you know, situation like start of lap 2 where there was a bunch of chaos on that second red rail, pretty dominant run from the side of Japan there.
Definitely, yeah. You see, Japan looks like opting for Sky High Sunday. They've had a lot of success on this in their set against Spain in semis when trying to see if they can capitalize more off of it here too, just to keep extending this lead so far. 28 points, little bit of insurance, but they know that France has been able to cut away into this lead at any given point. So starting of the second half here, immediately just gonna be watching to see what kind of items are we pulling immediately in these like first couple sets.
Definitely looking to pull the triple shrooms and, you know, instantly get that breakaway. Another track where you can use them, take this big shortcut at the start, and pull more again instantly from the second item set.
Yeah, not seeing any of that on our POVs though. We did see Kusan get single shroom, not able to get double item sets, and meanwhile we did see Waze not being able to pull that either. Just getting a lot, I think, triple bananas instead. Just seeing what are these players going to be able to do here. We did see Kusan is now staying in the back, while Waze is going to change star into double here. Going to have the Mega as well as the Bill for later on in this upcoming lap. It is currently Japan in a top 2 situation with France kind of behind in the 3, 4, 5.
It's up to, and presumably they have those mushrooms because, you know, on this track, if you're in the front early, you're most likely there because you were able to pull those early shrooms and get to that second item box, you know, in the top 2, top 3.
Yeah, now that's really the things to look for here, seeing because that's basically your win condition if you are front running. Otherwise, the mid pack will be catching on up to you. Pop-Up did crush Kusan there with the Mega Waves, still holding on to this bullet bill up in sixth place here as well. Watching the back to see what items could be in play here. Bottom two split up a little bit farther away from the rest of the pack here. Top two still in favor of Japan. Third place did get hit out as well. Waze is going to be moving up into third with Fire in play here, just trying to mash it out, get into double items as well, and it pulls triple reds for their efforts.
Triple reds, and it looks like they're Shock coming in from Japan as two of them dodge and TSing I believe both players on France that were already in that section.
Yeah, it's a massive shock for Japan. Triple green's going to be in play for Kusan. Going to be looking to either go for the snipes here onto a Waze. It's going to connect down to that. Almost hit out Ultra there at the end there too. But it's a top 2-4 for Japan at the end. And Shock coming in when it needed to most. Going to swing the race and really make things better here for Japan, who's going to be able to keep adding on to this lead here as well. And once again, just another race. It's suddenly back up to 42 points, more than one race.
Yeah, again, really good shot call from Japan there. Sometimes when you're, top two, it can be a little bit awkward on a track like this to call shock because there's not a ton of spots to really get yourself any sort of momentum that you would typically think about. But, if you're in a section like that on any track, really, as long as your teammates are safely across any spot where they can be TS, like we saw happen to Waze, just kind of use it. And if you have the dodges, which is exactly what Japan did, they had two people coming up behind, it should always result in a great race.
Then for the next race, we do have Acorn Heights coming in. It was a consensus pick from both these teams. AJ, how do you expect these teams to be playing Acorn for both of their positions?
Especially at the start, this first turn, really look to be aggressive with those triple items. You'll see multiple people are going to pull triple nanos or triple greens. Whoever is able to kind of avoid those items the most and get into the front early, a track like this, similar to Whistle Stop, you'll see whichever team is in the front early, able to be really aggressive on these rails, most likely going to be the one that's maintaining that top spot for the race.
Yeah, you saw that Kusan missed the first item set there as well. Had the end of the game just 4 greens for their efforts. You did see where Waze was able to pull a couple items there. Had the shroom at the end of the second set, and now has those triple bananas, able to take the miss here nicely and start to establish the front run here. You do see 2-3 is in favor of Japan. Kusan getting hit by the hammers, and early blue shell going to be coming out as well. Waze has to jump off just to avoid it.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate for Waze, but he failed anyways, so he wouldn't probably have been in first for much longer regardless.
Yeah, and now you do see still France still in this top 2 position overall. And after the Kamek comes out, a bunch of wigglers onto the map here. Well, Wade's now having the horn in first place, Hammers in behind as well in case of a potential aggressive options now from Japan. Will Wade's still able to maintain their lead here? Now, matter of seeing will they hit these strats here successfully to maintain this first place here, with Japan starting to come right behind. Burns the horn here, and you see Starlow's now in second place with France in a nice top 2 position. France and Japan is kind of behind at the moment, having a few of those bottom spots.
Yeah, they're behind, but this is a track where, really every track, the build is so strong, but some in particular, this one being one of them, with the update, it's now able to take this really, really tight line and stay on the rail, which can be very deadly to anyone who, needs to take it, giving themselves the big risk of getting bumped off.
Yeah, and especially now at this point where you do see late shocks come into play at times, matter saying who's going to be able to stay alive at this point. The rail's such a volatile situation to be in here. Kusan throwing those rangs around, gonna hit Lisa, unfortunately, at the end, it looks like. Quite a few spots from France up in those tops, but they also might be getting a few of those positions in bottom 4. It is a top 2-4-7 at least here for France.
Yeah, great job from Waze. That's exactly what we saw. Even though he got blued early, had to jump off, he was still up there in the front and able to push right back up into first, where he then end of lap 2, he had the horn. He was going a little bit slow, but that just made it easier for him to horn. I believe it was Captaro in second off that end vine and secure their top 2 run from there.
Yeah, big plays there from Aways from the rest of France. That was a +10 in their favor. It is a -32 overall now. Within striking distance pretty much this entire time. It looks like Japan is going to be going for DK pass. Okay, no, it's going for Kusan going for DK pass and Dandelion depths for the rest of Japan, it looks like here. I know Kusan did have a couple indiv picks of DK pass in the semis match against Spain, and it actually worked out well in their favor. They only got Desert Hills as the option here for France, but it does look like we're going to be going into Dandelion depths for this next race, the Japan specialty, as you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, for sure. I don't really know if they have like any real strategy that they go for, or if they just like the track. So really interested to see how this one shakes out.
Yeah, I know Japan has had a ton of success on this track here, just by having a bit more of an awkward selection compared to the track arsenals of the other teams at this level, and just kind of having that like one signature could be a big deal, especially if you're trying to really put this race away like you are for Japan. They are up 32. You see quite a few players now just vying for those top spots. Ways did have those triple shrooms going to be going into double here as well. Going to have a green as well as triple nanas, and he's going to move up into first as well with Baylor, who has now maintained the top 2 for France.
Yeah, with that shroom again in first, which this is another track where you've got that huge shortcut at the end of the race. So having your people able to be in the top spot and take it is just so strong.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing the cut momentarily here as well. Coinshell is going to come out. A few players moving on up, and the immediate trails there from the items in pocket is going to be a big factor to really watch for. Japan has found themselves into first place here now, but quite a bit of France in like that mid-pack there. Wawe's up here in second, having to just stay alive. It is Bakutin is going to be able to red out Wawe's here. And now it's a top 2 for Japan at the moment, as they're starting to make their way forward as an overall group. Kambic going to be coming on out here into this water section, and currently looks like there's also a lot of Japan up here in these tops.
Yeah, lots of Japan on the tops, but like we just talked about end of lap 1, there's a huge shortcut. So while the player in first does seem quite broken away, if they don't have a shroom, which it looks like they don't, we'll see a lot of these people that have the shrooms coming in, catching up real quick at the end.
Yeah, and great protection there from players like Kusan in Japan. You saw the Mega in the cut there, making it way more difficult for anyone else to navigate that. You do see Waze in third, right behind the Japan top 2. They were also moving on up with the Bullet Bill, as well as having Golden here. Trying to see if there's any items that they could have to make things aggressive. Now it's real close. Baylor's going to be fighting up here for this top spot. Kusan is right behind. Does have the Shroom notably now, as well as defense in case of potential red gets sent out early. It's Lee's up here in tops, Kusan right here in second. Having the Shroom is a really important thing here as well. Bullet Bill coming on up from the rest of the teams here, and does see that Japan is going to at least hold on to this top 2. Very late shot coming into play, though. Starlo's going to be able to steal first, it looks like here, and looks like seeing maybe France stealing this entire race at the very end.
Yeah, a little hard to tell whose shock that was. We saw, I believe, 2 Japan players dodging, 1 French player dodging, but yeah, regardless of whose it was, undoubtedly swung in the way of France. We saw Starlo was the higher dodge. He was able to swerve Mega, I believe, 2 Japanese players on his way to the line, which was, I'm sure, able to gain his teammates at least a few extra points.
Yeah, it ends up having a Japan positive race overall. It looks like it's up back to 40 points here, so 1 race maximum as an insurance lead here now for Japan. Entering the final stretches of this first match, we haven't seen shock too many times here, but it has ended up being in those like situations where it does feel like it can swing the race, even if it doesn't actually end up doing too many crazy things. We got TK Pasto coming in as this next race here. Looks like probably the Japan selection here.
Yeah, definitely a Japan selection, but it wasn't from Kusan Indiv picking this time. He actually didn't select it.
Yeah, notable selection there, actually. And seeing how this ends up working, DK Pass has had relative success for Japan in this tournament, and now it's a matter of saying, how do they just survive the opening pack here with so many people fighting for the shortcuts for the fastest lines, and just seeing who's going to be able to really get that break. Like Kusan and a few other players from Japan opting to stay low, going wide here, not wanting to risk too many things of the potential line fail. And now just seeing that there's a couple players broken away up in top spots here. Looks like France has found themselves in a multiple top situation with like 1, 3, 4, I believe it is just purple up here for Japan at the moment.
Yeah, just purple there with an early blue shell again. We've seen that a couple times now. And it looks like he did have shrooms, so the timing of it lined up where he could dodge the blue and take the shortcut, which is so huge. As you can see, he's now multiple second lead in first.
Yeah, DK Pass especially here, especially with all the chaos that's happening in this mid pack. The Kamek's been out into play. I saw multiple triples and super horns in the mid pack as well, which made things really difficult for anyone to really navigate the spots here. First place is gone now from the side of France. It is currently like a 2-3 maybe from Japan at the moment, who is just trying to see what items are we going to having to really move on up. We saw an early blue shell. The lead is starting to cut a little bit here, but France still maintaining first place. Have to see now, especially after that ending shortcut, the opening pack is really close now, especially over the top spots. It looks like Japan is going to be able to take the lead here too.
It's taking and now the lone France player kind of stuck in the sea of Japan. Oh, there's a second blue coming in.
Second blue coming on in. You see another player from Japan able to move up into first, though. It looks like a 1-3 from Japan, and you see pop off right in front of Kusan there, and Bakuten right there, close. Multiple players now moving up. It's just ways up here. Having to burn the horn is a little bit of protection. Kusan going to be getting hit. Gonna be having some reds coming on out if they can hit anyone out at the line. A lot of chaos ensuing at the very end. Looks like Japan was able to take first place. It's gonna be France in last. Just trying to see what else we have. You have top 2 Japan with a lot of them packed going in favor of France.
Yeah, really good from Japan there too. Slowly cut that lead down from the player in first, and then eventually, be aggressive, hit him out, and they got that little bit unlucky second blue at the end coming for them, but still managed to get a ton of those top spots and get a good race.
Yeah, +2 for Japan, who's at 42 points coming into the final stretches here. Just needing like a solid race here, not even like super winning. Positive makes it guaranteed win. It looks like a tie also does the same thing here. Just looking to not lose this race. I don't want to give France any chance of mounting a comeback in the last couple of races. That's been a big thing we've been seeing across all teams, it feels like, here at this tournament. And it does look like France is going to be getting Mario Bros. Circuit, which is a track they've been opting for multiple times so far.
Yeah, France really good at being aggressive. So any of those kind of rail dominant tracks is what we've typically seen them succeed on. Like Acorn and Whistle Stop notably were both like top 2s from them. And those are kind of the tracks that are, more rail heavy and really, benefit their aggressive play style.
Yeah, opting to really see what kind of aggression are we going to be having here, especially with France being notably aggressive, as you've mentioned, and seeing who's going to be able to establish any kind of frontal presence early on. You do see quite a few spots changing up around with multiple players spinning out in the process. It is currently Japan up in top spots, but France really close behind at the moment. Bottom 2 spots are split up here. Kusan is going to pull single shroom golden shell, and is going to be sent into the back as well after all of those reds coming into play. Players splitting on up the ending strats here, and you still see that Japan is in first place with France close behind in like a 2-3.
Huge bomb from Bakuten in first, though. Made the player in second have to jump around on the rail and was able to kill 2 more France players. Forcing, I believe one of them was forced to use a shroom to stay up there. One of them hit off the rail.
Yeah, it's good stuff here overall. We do see Japan still maintaining first place. It is France close behind in 2-3. Mega in play now from away. Kusan burning this golden shroom. Gonna get another item here. Gets set off almost with the on the rail, but does still have 4 shrooms into play here. Still hotly contested up in those top spots. It is still first place in favor of Japan. France right behind in 2-3, potentially maybe a 2-4 here, as we are in lap 3 now.
Yeah, lap 3 with Bakuten still holding down the first spot. And it looks like they got 1-3-4, so possibly looking to be aggressive on the player that's kind of alone in second from France.
Yeah, and Japan knows the win condition at this point. Just get a tied race and you win the first match here in finals. It looks like Bakuten is going to be able to cross the line here in first. Quite a few of France and Japan mixed up here in those opening spots right behind first, though. And it feels like a few of Japan found themselves in the bottom here as well. Do you see a 1-3-6 here from Japan, a 2-4-5 here from France? Close.
It's technically not over, but they're gonna need the fridge.
Legitimately, yeah, it's a 38-point difference at this point. They actually do need a top 6 to win the entire thing in regulation here. Top 5-7 just a tie.
Yeah, and so if you're France, at this point, if you get the miracle fridge and somehow win, I mean that's great. But probably looking to just get a winning race and kind of build some momentum to go into match 2.
Yeah, we've seen teams do really good adjustments going into the second match, so wouldn't be surprised to see France at least kind of opting for that here. And it looks like it's going to be Peach Beach selection once again. I know Japan played this in semis against Spain, needing to prevent a big race, and Spain almost did have the comeback, just wasn't enough points at the very end there. And now at this point, Japan is just doing anything they can to prevent a top 6, and they secure the first match here in finals.
Yeah, and if there's a track to get top 6 on, this is definitely one of them. I mean, the whole ending of the water section is all water, or the whole ending of the track is water, rather. So especially if Japan's able to get a shot, or if France is able to get the shot and make good use of it in that water section with multiple dodges, there's a chance for sure.
Yeah, it's really just set up at this point here from both of these teams, seeing how this ends up playing. Oasis is going to have the Ghost in first place here, which gives that necessary. And there's a Ghost in top 2 actually from both sides here. Really interesting positions to be in at this point now. Seeing Oasis and Kusan here up in these spots. Kusan's going to pull single shroom as a result of Oasis having a Ghost in first place, and it's really just a matter of seeing what other setup is going to be happening here. Top 2 at the moment from our POVs, as the rest of the pack is coming up behind.
Great play from Oasis there to slow down and make sure he could steal Kusan's triple shrooms. Really good awareness for him to do that.
Yeah, honestly, a winning play potentially here. Now it's just a matter of seeing if you get Kusan out. But Kusan having those hammers, going to be able to hit out Waves, who has to burn a couple shrooms as a form of recovery here. Kusan having no items in play now in second at the moment, but you do see it's a 1-3 at the moment for France, and seeing if they're going to be able to have anything more. They need a top 6 at this point to win, and there's also have quite a few players in the back now from France.
Yeah, not only in the back, but you see the one player way in the back, and it looks like maybe they assumed Japan has shock. They were trying really hard to stay behind that player. It looks like they both had bills and wanted to sit the last set.
That looks like it's going to be it, yeah. As you see, Wade is going to cross in first, but Kusan crossing in second is going to guarantee that Japan will win Game 1 here of the finals. Not sure how much of a positive it's going to be for either team. Looks like it is a winning race here for France, so it is a little bit of momentum going into Game 2, but at the end of the first match, it is going to be Japan with the first statement here, getting this Game 1.
Yeah, great showing from Japan there, and great play from Kusan there at the end on the glider. It didn't amount to much, but I do want to highlight it because I highlighted Will Waste. When you got the hammers, they kind of go up in that arcing pattern. So really good of him to know if you watch, he was going like down on the glider to make sure he was kind of below Waways in the air so that when he throws the hammers up, they were able to connect.
Yeah, and those are the plays you make at this point that really secure wins for your team. Like even though it didn't change the ending spots there, it's a mental note, especially for Waves, rest of France here, that Japan is going to be able to hit those shots precisely. And the good best players at this point in the game are really pinpoint accurate with items like that, and they're able to use it to their advantage. And especially when in a war like this, where it has been relatively close the entire time, those plays are going to be mattering at the very end. So Japan on top here after game one. France not too far behind. It was a 30-point difference in at the end. Any adjustments you're looking for from either of these teams going into this game too?
I mean, honestly, I don't know. France was playing well. They just kind of didn't really go their way a couple races. But in terms of adjustments, they've been aggressive. They've been making smart plays. I think maybe they could try to be going for a couple more dodges to play around when Japan has a shock. It feels like every time Japan uses a shock, there's no one on France that's ever dodging it, which obviously is the goal of Japan. But if you have a couple more dodges on your team, you can try to play around it, try to cover, those typical shot spots. Maybe looking to do some more of that going into match two.
Yeah, we haven't seen shock be too much of a factor all the time, but when it has been in play, it has impacted the races a fair amount there. So France being able to kind of play around that, if they're not able to pull it themselves, probably going to be one of the things they are looking for in this game too. Believe we are going to be taking a bit of a break here as we wait for the second match room to open. Do not go anywhere. We will be back very shortly with game two of finals here in the MKWC. And we are back here for game 2 of finals of MKWC 2026 for Mario Kart World. We have Japan currently up 1 game over France here, who is looking to send us to a decider game 3. France is opening the room, is in hosting position here as well in the 1-4. Japan in the 2-3 as we wait for the rest of the teams to follow on. And once again, I'm Spicy, joined on the mic here with AJ. How you feeling going into game 2?
I'm feeling like if any team is gonna make changes to overcome a team like Japan, it's gonna be France. So even though they lost match 1, pretty close, would not really be counting them out at all.
Definitely, yeah. I know France has been keeping it really close with Japan the entirety of that first game. Japan really not able to break the 50-point lead mark at all in that time, and France just keeping their ways, just trying to claw back in. Then Japan just figures out a response to keep the lead just enough at bay to make it harder for France to really mount any type of sizable comeback here. Really just trying to see what France can do in terms of like chaining wins together, potentially doing something like that to make it difficult on Japan. Japan did win game 1 in semis against Spain, but did lose game 2. So real curious to see how they adjust with that. It's Japan's only loss in the knockout stage so far. France just got handed their first knockout stage loss here in finals just now. So a lot really to be looking forward to as we wait for the rest of the players to come on in.
Yeah, again, like you said, that being France's first loss since the bracket started, really impressive because they've played 2 good teams, right? They played USA and they played Germany, I believe, who Germany was able to get a win versus Japan, which means they're good enough to beat anybody. So going undefeated the whole time is very, very impressive from them.
Yeah, France was on a really long winning streak up until now, where it was just the loss to Spain in the group stage where they were winning up until race 12, but then Spain did what they were able to do and came back. But since then, France has just been on a tear. So to see that Japan was able to not really completely control the game, but having like at least the control of the lead was a big thing for them as they go into this next matchup here, game 2. I believe we are going to be having the same lineups as well. Both these teams just trusting their players, just being able to bring it on home for their country. So excited to see what we have here. I know France in the 1-4 position. You have Japan in these 2-3, and just seeing how this ends up changing everything else on here as well. Looking at the who's in right now, looks like maybe just waiting on 1 player each now from both teams.
Yeah, looking like, room was open right at 0-0, so they should be in, hopefully any second if we can get it going.
Yeah, just waiting now at this point to see for the last 2 players coming. Okay, the purple's coming on in now. He's just the last player from France as well. Just waiting on who that is. I believe, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, so France is now in. Japan's in here as well. So both these teams gonna be ready in now for this game 2. Big shout outs to everyone so far for making this tournament happen, as well as that eye behind the scenes on production. We've got a lot of viewers as well for Mario Kart Central, as well as for the French cast, and as well as the different streams from Japan. So big community showing here, which is what we love to see in this World Cup. Gonna be seeing now what the opening tracks are gonna be in terms of the roulette selection. We see Bowser's Castle as the track here from France, as with Whistle Stop as the track for Japan.
Yeah, both, pretty normal selections for their spots, going in the favor of Japan.
Japan did get this track earlier in the first match as well, was able to get a win on that, I believe. So, and it was really just seeing quite a few players in the opening lap. It's just going to be fighting for top spots, and then it's just usually on lap 2 and 3 we'll start to see more of a breakaway, start to see that pack split, and then the items really become a factor in terms of how are we going to be making these comebacks. We didn't see too much shock in terms of the overall match in game 1, but when it did happen, it was overall Japan favored. Now it's a matter of seeing how does France play around that here and what else happens. It is still red for Japan and blue for France as we are here on Whistle Stop Summit. Quite a few things happening across both the POVs and on the minimap as the top spots are really contested at this point. Looks like Japan in first for now, but France is right behind him at the 2-3.
Yeah, and we saw an unfortunate team kill from Kusana where he redded Lias, who had shrooms and was looking to kind of, be able to break away into those top spots, which got shut down early on.
Yeah, a big shutdown actually at this point here. It's going to be a shock in favor of France now with Waze having it in last place. France also is maintaining top spots here. I see a star in play from Japan in maybe the third place position. But currently, so far, it is France with top 2 as well as Shock. Waze is back there now. Maybe as a potential hint for Japan, seeing that Waze isn't using any items at this point. But here we are. The Shock does come into play now. France maintaining their spots as well as having a high dodge, it looks like.
Yeah, great read from the Japanese player who went into Mega there. Great heads up to, realize they had Shock, probably going to be coming into play there.
Yes, Japan actually takes the lead up in first place at the moment. Waze, unfortunately,
great hammers from Kusan again. Right there, you see the angle those hammers were coming from means he was using a camera snipe there to hit that, which is something not a lot of people really have still implemented into their game yet.
Yeah, right stick sniping is legitimately one of the most undeveloped things here in this game so far. But even at this point, you do see a lot of France in these high spots. They did get first place. Looks like they were able to secure a few more things at the end there. Top 2, 4, 6, 7, and 9. With a bottom 3 for Japan. It's going to be France with a big opening statement here in game 2. And I believe this will be their first lead of the entire set.
Yeah, great opening from France. Way to come back after that, first loss.
Yeah, great stuff. I believe actually France won the first race in game 1, actually. So it's back-to-back times where they're able to get the lead early on here. Japan now playing from a much larger deficit than they would have in the first match, and now seeing what does France do here. Biggest lead they're going to have the entire set so far. They have Boucher's Castle as their next selection. You see Dan Delian Debs, DK Pass now being options from Japan. A lot of big things potentially brewing for both these teams here. Japan not wanting to let France get a big lead here. France with momentum just seems like a really scary sight to have as you get the track selection. It's going to be Dandelion Depths once again.
Yeah, pulling out their trump card early, this one.
Yeah, and the trump card worked mostly well overall for Japan. They had multiple high spots up until the very end, which is when I believe it was Starlo who's able to dodge Shock and then steal first place for France. But it was still a net positive for Japan overall. New Japan has been dominant on this track this entire tournament here, and looking to see if they can pull this out now. Japan wants to win this match in 2 games. Does not want to have to get sent to a decider game 3, especially when you consider the history with these 2 teams and how close things could really be here. Well, Waze is going to have the Shrooms ghosted quite early on here. Kusan is going to be able to opt for double item box on the top path. Triple Shrooms in play from both of our POVs here, as always is going to be able to move on forward a little bit, saving 1 Shroom as well as they find themselves in 4th. Behind looks like a Japan top 2.
Yeah, Japan top 2, but again, it's looking like the person in first I don't think has Shrooms, but everyone behind them does.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it there, as you see quite a few players shooting on up. First place still maintained in favor of Japan, but quite a bit of France is going to be right behind here as well. You see Baylor in 3rd, you see Waze there in 4th. Kusan going to be redded out in 10th place. Trying to see what else is going to be in play. Kamik is out, the ice also starting to ricochet off of the wall here. And you know that one player from France is back here. You see Kusan opting to change star into double, is going to pull the shock, and it's right behind the golden as they find themselves in like the lower mid-pack spot. Now suddenly find themselves in 6th.
Yeah, I believe he just pulled that in 10th. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
it looked like it.
Pretty rare and part of the new update.
And obviously shock there at that moment for Japan. Taking a lot of people, it's like in the cut there too, and see the hammer starting to come into play. Wade's not going to fall victim to it this time as well, and you see multiple items is going to be in play as a factor, as you see in the spiral could be devastating at this point to get hit out. Looks like Japan is still maintaining a few tops. It is a top 2 position overall. Upper mid pack, it looks like it's going to be all France. 3, 4, 5, 6, especially in these shroom spots. You see Wade's with shrooms in 6.
Yeah, you know, a bit of an odd shock from Japan, but when you got it in 6th place, it's so awkward. You see, you know, they still holding on to their top 2 going to the end of this race, but actually really close now.
Yeah, it's insanely closer. Kusan has to save Shroom for the ending cut here. You see the bullet bill in play. Might make things a little bit odd. There's a bomb in the cut there too. Kusan is going to be able to maintain 7th place overall here. Top 2, it looks like, still went in favor of Japan's potential winning race for them. A lot of the upper mid pack going in favor of France though, but it's still a top 2, 6, 7, 9, 10. France with the bottom 2.
Yeah, really good from Japan. Like, because due to the way the pack was split, if he, tried to drop at all to use that shock and affect more people, he would have just lost almost too much time for it to really have been worth it. So just getting it there, getting, those, I believe 3, 4, 5, all of France, in the shroom cut after his team made it through was a great call, even if it's a little bit awkward to use it when you're that high up.
Yeah, and still net positive overall for Japan there, finding themselves with a nice plus 12 after the minus 24 in race 1. They cut the deficit in half legitimately, and it was suddenly it's a 12-point difference going into race 3. Very close overall. Was hoping to maybe see France and their efforts to bring this to a game 3 really start to extend the lead, but Dandelion Depths is such a strong track for Japan overall as we go back to Acorn Heights now for race 3.
Yeah, again, probably going to look to see like what happened last time, where whichever team is able to push into the front, going to most likely be maintaining it for the rest of his race. So to start this first turn, so important on this track.
Yeah, these opening 2 items are super vital here as well. Waze and Kusan both pulling the Ghost. Waze going to be just burning it immediately, grabbing the Shroom in the process, chaining it into double here as well. Going to get another Shroom, burning it now. He's trying to land the green onto purple, not going to connect here, but is still contesting really closely here with purple for this top spot. Meanwhile, Kusan only opting to pop the Ghost now is going to have those triple greens on out, going to have one Shroom here as well, and then pulling another set of triple Shrooms in the process. So it looks like 1-4 for Japan at the moment, because Kusan does get hit right over the gap.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're talking about, where being ahead on those rails is just so strong. Be able to make plays like that, where you're pretty much unavoidable if you're Kusan without just not going on the rail at all and losing a bunch of time.
Yeah, exactly, and you do see that Japan's still maintaining like a top spot for now, maybe a 1-4. Blue Shell coming in really high up, going to be targeting on out, and France is going to be able to take the lead here. It looks like they are in a 1-3, maybe a top 2 position here as well. Kusan going to opt to stay back, get 1 item for their efforts. Another player from Japan is also rotated on that to see if they can pull anything else. Bullet Bill coming out once again on the map where it could be potentially vital here. Wade's going to be here in 5th, right behind Lees, who does have the horn in 4. Bomb going to be coming on out. Doesn't look like it's going to connect on screen here. There's multiple players just moving on up. Triple Green's going to be coming into play, and it was a way to potentially protect Triple Reds, but Wade's unfortunately still going to fall victim to falling off.
Yeah, he had the triple greens to protect himself, but right there, shot coming in from Japan. Looks like they dodge high in first. Kusan dodges with Mega behind, and they target shot the player in second.
Yeah, overall big shock there from Japan. I saw the really high dodge. Kusan was in the mega. It's going to be a 1-3-4 at minimum here for Japan, and especially with the target shock onto France, a devastating blow for them, who was looking positioned to potentially grow their lead. Instead, it looks like this is going to be a winning race for Japan, a 1-3-5. The 2-4-6 is going to be a little bit of a nice consolation here, as it only is a +4 for Japan, but Japan crawling their way back here. It's down in the single digits.
Yeah, great shot use from Japan, but they were just kind of a little bit too far back to even really catch up at the end. They had their 2 high dodges, but other than that, just kind of a bit of a salvage from them, honestly. +4 is great, but they need to try to not be so far back, especially on tracks like that are pretty limited in the, big shortcuts that you can take at the end.
Definitely, it really is just that one big shortcut at the end, right after the item set, and then you can go for a few strats with the rails and the other ways to jump the gap. But other than that, it's nothing too crazy. And the late shock, it did benefit tops, but a bit harder for the other players in the back to come on up. So net positive, at least. Japan's still able to get a nice small gain, but matters in can they chain it together. We are going to Desert Hills now. First time we're going to be seeing it this set.
Yeah, speaking of tracks that have a ton of shortcuts to take at the end, this is probably the best example of a track just like that.
Yeah, there's so much off-road here. It's a typical thing with desert tracks in Mario Kart history, and especially here in Desert Hills. While there are opportunities to just use no items to take these shortcuts here as well, item cuts are just so strong at the same time, and there's a lot of variety you can take here. It does lead to some difference in strategy from these players here, as you opt to see some players stay in the back, some players are going to be opting to front run, like you do see Waze having the opportunity to do so. Now having the Shroom up here as well, it looks like a 1-3 in favor of France at the moment. Top 2 potentially here as well. Waze going to burn the Shroom, going to be able to take the little gap cut there too, and is going to have another set of items here as well. Green shell followed by a coin. Quite a bit of Japan in the back for now, as Waze is trying to just establish front running presence here for France, but Japan really high up here as Lee's is going to be moving up in the first.
Yeah, while having the Shroom, so he's going to be safe from any blue shell should it be thrown. Although they're going to opt to let Valor pass with those triple reds. Another great, play from Waze, seeing what's going on behind him, slowing down when necessary.
Yeah, that kind of awareness is enough to maybe win games here. But Waze is going to have the Ghost here, going to get the invincibility, burning the fire to potentially get some another item. Is only going to pull a banana here, but the invincibility is really important. Just trying to see what they're going to be able to get here as well. Staying on the rail is going to drop them a few spots in the process. Looks like France was able to steal first place here, or at least secure that. Maybe Japan in a couple of the spots right behind, like a 2-4 position. It's a 1-3-5, but also 3 of bottom 4 for France.
Yeah, first was good to, salvage the race, but again, just a very small gain for Japan, kind of slowly clawing their way back.
Yeah, +2 for Japan, and now it's a -6 overall after the first Grand Prix. It was a really big race for France at race 1, but since then it's been Japan clawing their way back and able to get 18 in the last 3 races or so. See Starview Peak coming now as the selection from Japan. Would be the first time we see it here in the set. And now see Salty also coming in now as a potential track selection here as the roulette goes. And we are going to be going back to Salty Speedway for this next race.
Yeah, back to Salty, and with a much more kind of mix of spots. Not going to be looking for any team to, be more likely to break away. Just going to kind of be who can avoid the bumps and, also pull Shrooms from the first item set if they get there in those top 2, top 3 spots.
Yeah, Shrooms in the first couple item sets were so powerful, which is what led Japan to get such a big race on this earlier in match 1. Now let's see if they can do the same thing here. Well, Waze is going to be able to pull the Ghost here right behind Bakutson, is now going to be up here on top spots, and now has another Shroom as well. Going to be able to get into this double item box and get 4 Shrooms. It's such a powerful set of items to have here. Kusan's going to have the same set of items, but it's going to be opting to play from the back here in last through some circumstances. And now you see them along with Pop-Off here just chaining in the back as well. Wade is going to be able to take over first place here with the banana as defense.
Yeah, really good from a ways there. You know, Bakuten pulled triple bananas instead of shrooms. And, you know, he slight misplay to not place it properly on the rail, but very good from a ways to avoid the other two while staying on the top path and making it to the shroom cut.
Yeah, especially now with the Waves being able to establish this front run here with a lot more space. Looks like France is really up here in these top spots, potentially 3 of the top 4, maybe top 3 overall here. His top 2 is a little bit of a breakaway as well over the rest of the pack here. Japan's going to start to make their way forward, potentially make something happen, and you see a player in last there just trying to fight for their spots to see what they can do in terms of the item plays. Now, because I'm going to have to opt for the bill here, seeing what else they're going to do. There's a bill in last from Japan there as well, and a couple players from France just trying to do what they can to scout out and just support the top 2 forward that is currently from France. The blue shell is now in play.
Yeah, blue, you know, that's a really tough spot for it to come as well, because when you jump off the map, your respawn is really, really bad. So like worst case scenario for France having blue shell coming through.
Yeah, it turned the top 2 and took a 1-3.
Great play from
nice
Okashi.
horn. Yeah, there's see Kusan there. Going to be able to recover nicely with the shrooms. The rain coming in right at the tight corridor at the end, though. Going to change up a few spots as the pack has gotten insanely close at the very end as a result. But
Looks to be huge for France, though.
France, yeah. A lot of the blue in those top spots, and they're able to get a top 4-6 for them.
Yeah, you know, really good horn from Okashi to slow down and get 2 of them off glider, but, you know, both the players he hit had triple shrooms. So while, the idea was good, I'm not sure that's kind of the time to go for that.
Yeah, especially when you look at what it ended up resulting for France, who was able to get a plus 28, biggest race for them on the day so far, and it's a plus 34 for the French team here as well, who are really just add on to the lead. It was a lot of Japan just clawing their way back in, but 2 big races from France in race 1 and race 5 have really just swung it in their favor. We're seeing Rainbow Road come out for the first time in the roulette, and Sky High Sunday is the alternate selection.
Yeah, Rainbow Road, you know, 4-minute long track, great to kind of reset, which is exactly why, you know, we see Japan picking it, because after France getting that huge race, it's just something nice to kind of kill the momentum, hopefully, you know, long track, lots of time to influence your decisions, although we unfortunately did not see it come out.
Yeah, you're going back to Sky High, it looks like the track here for France, and I know Japan has had success on it this weekend so far, but really, if France are able to just make use of these like opening items, get a bunch of players with those triple shrooms, they could just really establish a breakaway. Waze is going to have those trip greens. Kusan's going to be hit out in the process with some other items in this path, as multiple players just trying to fight and vie for those higher positions with those opening sets and see what they're able to get. But Waze is going to have the ghost as well as triple mushrooms here. Kusan going to often now play from the back here, not able to pull anything super valuable in their favor at the moment. Tightly contested spots up top so far. Well, Waze is going to fall. Japan currently in first, but a lot of France is right behind.
Yeah, France a lot behind, and presumably, again, most likely at least 1 or 2 of them will have triple shrooms and be able to take the cut. And we see 2 of them shrooming up, taking over at least first, maybe even top 2. And the blue instantly out from Japan, though, is able to be dodged by the shroom, which is most likely going to be the last shroom for that player in first, so they won't be able to take the cut again here on lap 3.
Yeah, that's a vital thing for them here, as you do see probably a bunch of these players are going to be rotating spots around as a result. Kusan is going to be able to take Bill Strat there as well. Going to be moving on up and does have the golden in pocket to potentially get even more spots here, especially with the cut coming on up ahead. The Mega is going to be in play from a ways. France has secured a few of those top spots for now. The pack is still very close still. Have to see what other items at the very end are going to end up changing big factors here. You see Wade's going to be able to chain into double, get the golden, gets redded out though. Shrooms for recovery here. Kusan is also able to maintain this fourth place position, seeing if anything else is going to be able to, as the late shot comes in now on the turn. Few players from Japan are going to be hit out, and potentially big for France, but a blue shell coming out of the line once again, as multiple players are going to be changing positions at the very end. There's just so much chaos ensuing. You saw the shock on lap 3, notable target shock spot, but the blue shell at the line, and Japan is going to be able to take first here actually to get a top 3 as a result.
Yeah, that is a killer blue shell for France. Less than a second away from the finish line, and that, that is a huge point swing with how close the pack is. I think just went from first to, I think, 9th. So really, really unfortunate from the side of France.
Yeah, that was just a crazy sequence of events. You saw players get shocked off, and you had a feeling that maybe France was able to extend this lead, and then blue shell coming on now, and especially with all the different items in play and how close that pack was, it just led to so many things happening and so many spots just changing around. It is now just an 18-point difference here as well, with a big race there from Japan to just change things up in an instant, it feels like. And right when you think France was going to have like another way to keep building this lead, Japan is just finding themselves back in again. You see Bowser's Castle and Mario Bros. Circuit come in as the next picks.
Yeah, BC, presumably, the Japan pick for their top 3. So hopefully, there's 3 different routes you can kind of take to do this first shortcut. Presumably, we'll see one player, go for all of them to avoid any bumps.
That's a good way to approach it here. Yeah, you want to avoid the bumps in the opening section of Bowser's Castle, which is really where a lot of players end up dying on out, because with how many players are just wanting to go for the strat, just saves so much time as a result. You see triples in play now as well. A few players just trying to draft around, and Moways is going to be the one who makes it out in first place briefly here. But on the other, secure double item, Bakugan is going to have 4 shrooms here as well. You see Bakugan really close behind. It's 2-4 for Japan. They get 2-3 actually. As you see, top 2, it's Moways and Pop-Off here for now, at least for France here. Kusan in third, trying to hold it down for Japan. There's a lot of France moving on up.
Yeah, a lot of France moving up with the shroom in 1 as well for the Waves, which is so powerful.
You see this now, big items here potentially. You see the red starting to come through. Waves is going to fall victim, has to burn the shroom as a result for recovery purposes. Few greens coming on out as well. Waves is able to take cut nicely, keeping up this position, and you see Pop-Off still right behind in second. In the back, you're looking at it now. You do see another player from France very far in the back here, kind of reminiscent of what we saw earlier in match 1. They do have a few other players in the back there too. So Japan in like this 3-4-5 it looks like here. France still maintaining these tops for now, as a shot comes through here in lap 2.
Good shot from France, getting their top 2 right as they get on the glider. One Japan player, Bakugan, is dodging, but with no one really having items to catch up, France should still be holding on to their top 2 here.
Yeah, and it kind of does go nicely here for France as well, who's able to just keep maintaining this lead here. Bakugan's right behind in second, does have those triple bananas in play to potentially make an aggressive option. Pop-Off right behind, while MDR now actually in third, and Kasana's place falling on down in the cannon.
Yeah, that was great from Kusan. He chained his shroom to get the double box, get the double items, the green shell, red shell, throws it up at Lowland DR. It does connect, but as he's falling down, he gets hit by Lowland DR's trail, which is very unlucky from Japan.
Yeah, and speaking of unlucky for Japan, the blue shell is going to be going at the line here, but France is going to cross in what looks like a top 2. And we saw quite a few Japan in the back at the moment there at the end. So 3 about 4. It's a top 2 France, 3-4-5 Japan, but the mid pack going in favor of France here, who's going to be able to build this up to a 30-point lead here.
Yeah, really good from France to salvage, because they had their top 2, which was pretty secure, especially with that shock. But Japan was, I think, everything behind. They were like 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe even. So France being able to break it up and sneak up and salvage some of those mid spots is really, really good from them.
Yeah, and you see Japan opting for the reset once again, going for Rainbow Road for all 4 minutes of it here. You see Starview Peak making their way into the roulette here as well, but it is going to be Rainbow Road for the very first time here in the set.
Yeah, 4-minute track. Make sure you got something to drink, something to eat, because we are going to be here for a while.
Yeah, that's just how Rainbow Road goes here. A lot of things will be happening here, but there are multiple stretches where it is just set up for Section 2, it feels like sometimes, where just the water section, being able to take those cuts in there, just have the speed items, it does establish a breakaway potentially momentarily. One of the few tracks in the game where you will likely or have the potential to see like multiple shock, multiple blues, just because of the length of the track here as well, and just with the variety of things that can and will happen. It's just a matter of saying, what do you do here? Japan's gonna have 4 minutes to strategize. France will have the exact same thing here, and it's a big reset. And this is pretty much here as we are in the last 5 races, just seeing both these teams seeing what they can do. It's a 30-point lead overall. France is trying to do what they can to keep this lead, grow it more, and potentially send us to a game 3.
Yeah, game 3, it would be super fun. But Japan not going to go down that easily. Definitely going to be trying their best to, come back, win it here in 2-0.
Yeah, I know Japan's had a few moments where they've been pushed to the wire in these games, and they've made comebacks. The quarterfinals against Canada comes to mind in game 1, and they've been able to see if they can do things like that here. Push comes to shove, Japan is still a very strong team. And here we are, water section in lap 2. Such a vital position, really, for both these players, both these teams. Multiple players going for golden strats to just dodge a bunch of the water here and really cut up into so many of these higher spots. But Sun getting this last room taken away by the Ghost and getting horned out by Starlo. Multiple players going to be passing Kusan, who's now going to have to opt to play from the back. It looks like we still have a player in first from Japan, but a lot of France is like right behind, also contesting for that top spot.
Yeah, Japan getting the bill, opting to burn it right away so he can make sure he gets at least 1 more, maybe even 2 more boxes if he does not try to chain the golden, but I'm not sure it would have panned out anyways.
Yeah, just gonna have save the golden here for a more opportune time, not wanting to risk just having 1 item now going into the 3rd section. Well, Waze does end up in first place here. It's a top 3 for France overall, actually, as Kusan, rest of Japan, just trying to see what they can do, what they can formulate to move on up into this mid-pack and into these top spots. Ghost coming on out, is going to steal the green there as well. Waze is going to be able to get a back on 2 of the players, and the blue shell is going to be coming into play here. Pop-Up having to jump off stage here, and hammers are going to be in play from a Waze as the potential defensive option, as Kusan does have multiple shrooms also in play. Horn coming on out in that mid-pack, as well. Waze still going for the camera snipe here, trying to see if they can get anything onto the...
And he got him. He got him.
And getting close.
I mean, that's definitely a clip-worthy snipe, Lots of times you see people going for those camera snipes, they kind of will just tap the stick a little bit. He held it. He held it for a full 90 degrees, which is a long commitment.
Yeah, on a section like that too, where it is mostly straightaway, it is very opportune for Waze to be going for those snipes there. You get so much value off of the 2 for such minimal risk, especially because they had one of the teammates right behind just in case something were to happen. But it is section 4 all of a sudden here. Kusan is in last. You do see Waze here with the banana in first as well. Quite a few opportunities for both these teams to maybe make something happen, but the time is starting to tick here. Waze still in first place as we enter the final stretch of Rainbow Road.
Yeah, and we see Kusan having the build too, which is so strong for the end of this track, especially given how close the pack is.
Yeah, well, Waze is going to be able to take cut nicely up here. He's going to have just the coin as defense. Kusan's going to still have this build, be able to take some spots at the end as well. and it's going to be powerful. See what they're able to get. They get a Mega here as well, just able to get some extra invincibility, maybe crush someone else if there's anyone here from France. It's going to be a top 2 for France overall, though. Few spots from Japan going to secure in at mid-pack, but overall, potentially another good race for France here, depending on how the rest of the results shaped out. It's actually a top 3 for France, and pretty much the entirety of the mid-pack going in favor of Japan.
Yeah, top 3 from France, but they did also get that 10-11. So it's going to limit to, I think, only a +6 or a +8. But at this point, only 3 races left. You don't need to get huge swinging races. You just need to really not lose them, which is, all you can be asking for if you're on the side of France.
Yeah, that is pretty much all you're looking for right now if you are France here. They have found themselves with a 40-point lead, which is enough to at least guarantee one race won't be enough for Japan to take the lead. They can tie, but it won't be able to overcome this deficit at the moment. It looks like we're going to Starview Peak for the first time in this war. The Japan selection as they find themselves down 40 going into the last 5.
Yeah, and Japan, this is kind of like, while they're not the only team to pick this track, they are probably the best team at this track. So this is another one kind of similar to Dandelion, where they know they need something big, they can pretty reliably get it on this track.
Yeah, Japan has had some notable success here on Starview Peak, and it's been one of their bread and butters, pretty much, just to either cut into leads or to grow a lead of their own here. And it's an opportune time as we are in the final Grand Prix. Actually, Waze, unfortunately, not going to be able to feather on over the gap, and is going to be sent into the lower mid-pack here. Kusan only having the single shroom red shell as well. Going to have to see what they're going to be able to pull. Gets the red shell off now, and gets a single shroom, and pulls the blue shell here in 8th place. The Japan also maintaining top 2.
Blue shell and Elephant, opting to throw it, which means, surely his teammate in first has a mushroom. Is able to dodge it, yep, so that's perfect, especially given that Kusan died. Now he's in the perfect spot to bag without anyone else on his team needing to slow down.
Yeah, you see Starlo and Kusan and bagging in the back here, seeing what items are they going to be able to have here. I know we've seen Kusan with shock a couple times, but not going to be able to pull it at this point. Top 2 in favor for Japan, and they have established a big breakaway compared to the rest of the pack here. You do see what Waze having the Mega in 5 is going to be able to take on this cut here, move on up. It is Baylor right behind here. Okashi is going to be actually dying out, so it is just 1-0 now for Japan as we enter lap 3.
Not sure what happened to Okashi. Maybe he failed the NISC. I'm not sure. He was kind of stuck hobbling through the off-road for a while there.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate position.
Yeah, we do see a Japan player kind of way in the back. Pretty fair to assume they're going to have shock right now, I would say. Well, he didn't end up stopping the first set, actually. Maybe just hit off the grinder. But still a great position for Japan, especially the player in first. Such a big breakaway.
Yeah, 1-3 for Japan. Well, Waze does have Ghost in 6 in case of potential shock at the very end here. I know we did see the bullet bill from last at the moment from Japan for who was really far back. Big stuff to potentially here. Well, Waze going to be in Ghost, does have 2 greens in play here as well. And really just seeing what they're able to do. It's a 2-4-5-6 maybe here from France. For 1-3, actually 1-3-4 from Japan, who should be able to secure a winning race once again on Starview Peak.
And we see presumably Popoff driving around backwards back there. I know he likes to drive backwards when the race is over for him, which is always funny to see.
Yeah, here we are. It's a good race here for Japan. It's 32 points going into the last 3. France feeling a little comfortable, but can't be too comfortable knowing that Japan does have the potential to swing the match in their favor at any point in these last 3. France just definitely wants to see if they can put it out of reach. It feels eerily similar to what we saw in match 1, just reverse, with France now with the lead going into the last few races, and Japan trying to claw their way back in. Cheap Falls coming into the roulette. seen it a couple times, but it hasn't been actually selected. And Mario Bros. Circuit, once again, an option here. Because we are going to go to Cheap Cheap Falls.
Yeah, no, this other track, very volatile. Lots of, if you can be in the front and make the shortcuts, that's great. But Golden Mushroom just so strong at the end. Really, your lead is never safe unless you can get that triple shroom pull in first.
Yeah, it's the trip shroom pull that's going to be super vital to watch for from these opening spots within pretty much the entirety of this order. And just see who's going to be able to establish a breakaway. It's so hard to do so one lap one just because of how many players are going to be vying for these strats. MKWC did have the coin block to potentially get some extra resources there. Kusan not going to have anything at the moment as we approach Tarzan Cut. And a matter of seeing who's going to be able to actually take it here. You do see quite a bit of Japan still up in those top spots for now. It's like a top three potentially even, as well as a few more in the back. As you see Kusan now just settling up here in the back, gonna have to play from here for a little bit, just so you're gonna see what other items France will have in case potential comeback, especially as we enter lap 2.
Yeah, Bill gonna be really good to get him up there. Blue Shell, seemingly the player who it targeted was able to dodge, but Bakuton was caught in the explosion.
Yeah, chaos basically ensuing up in the top spots there. Currently, it is a first place still for Japan, but France is right behind the 2-3, maybe a little bit more as well. Tarzan Cut coming on, and Kusan gonna be able to take this. He's gonna have the Mega up here as well in 6th place. You see the Bill in 11th from their own side. France in the back still trying to see what they could be using in terms of some items. Pack is getting a lot closer here as well. Entering lap 3, Waze with the horn in second, and it does look like France has taken over top 2 potentially for now. It's Pop Off in first, Kusan in second, Waze in 3. Kusan going to be able to take the lead in first here with the Shroom as well as Triple Bananas in pocket.
Yeah, this is going to be, especially Tarzan here, so laggy, lots of potential to get bumped off. But having the Shroom for the end is so powerful. Just as long as he doesn't die. Who? It looks to be a shock from the side of France because they are coming up in the bill.
Yeah, it could be big here for France here. You did see that Bill dodge, and this is going to result in France getting first. It is Waze there, Kusan in second. I saw Pop-Off get hit right at the end, so not sure if they were able to still secure a mid-pack spot. A lot of France in like that lower mids there. Yeah, Japan 2, 3, 4 right behind. They did get a couple of those back spots there, so maybe relatively even-ish, but still solid race here as we enter the last couple.
Yeah, now if you're Japan, you're gonna be needing something big here in this last race to really keep it close. You don't want to be relying on, a fridge to win like we saw from France last war.
Definitely, yeah. And it's a 32-point difference here. I believe that was even in race 10, and now in these last two, this next one feels incredibly important here. We saw it in match 1 where we had to go to Peach Beach. There's a potential need top 6 to win from France. Japan definitely doesn't want to have to do that. You know that tracks like Starview and Dandelion have already been burned from them, so now it's a matter of seeing what can they pick to maybe get something happen. Looks like we're going to be seeing a consensus Shy Guy Bazaar though from both of these teams. You do see a couple of Dry Bones Burnout though as options here. Maybe actually going on to the never mind. We are going to Shy Guy Bazaar as race 11 here in game 2.
Yeah, France being in first, but Japan having that 2, 3, 4 all behind means they're gonna be more likely to get people up onto that rail.
Very true, very true. And it's such an important time right now to be fighting for those rails. And really, if you can get on and just establish that breakaway in the front run, it gives so much value here. France trying to do what they can. France gets a plus 10. They are guaranteed going to a game 3, and that is so pivotal for them, especially because they haven't been able to really get the lead against Japan in game 1. It's been pretty much all France here in control of the differential in game 2. See Waze once again in first place here. Pop Off right behind. Potential here for Japan can maybe make a comeback in the back, though. They do have quite a few spots there in like bot 2. Maybe formulating something, as France is dominating the top spots at the moment.
Yeah, dominating the top spots, and on this track where, you know, every fast strategy kind of requires you to be on a rail, they're going to be looking to be extremely aggressive to, you know, try to put this game away in 11.
Yeah, France definitely doesn't want to take it to a decider race 12. They want to just go straight to the game 3 without being the stress there. Huawei's doing a great job of maintaining this front run. I believe Popov is still right behind in second. And you see Kusan now in 10, opting to stay back a little bit here as well. Trying to see if they can get into double items. Not going to be able to do so here. And it's only going to pull triple shrooms in the back. You see Huawei starting to go through. The shock is going to come out. Huawei is going to get targeted, chucked off the rail there as well. Going to result in a couple of spots changing there. But overall, it's still France in top spots.
Yeah, you know, good shock from Japan to get, you know, the TS onto them and get them off the map, but another situation where they're just kind of too far back. You know, I don't think it's going to really amount to much. And France still looking very secure to get this first.
Yeah, France Huawei's is going to be in here in first. It's a matter of can they get any more tops, though. You see quite a bit of Japan also moving on the big back potentially if they connected, and a few other spots coming in through. It's a mishmash between both teams in these upper spots, and you see the last for Japan could be big here, but you see okay, really close overall, the 1-3-5-ish favor now, and yeah, it's a 32-point difference. Again, it feels very close here going into this last race.
I believe that was actually 42. That is what they needed, and now the war is going to be over.
Yeah, that is insane. Now, actually, yeah, my bad on the math there, but you do see France doing just enough to send us to a decider game 3, which is, yeah, especially we knew that these two teams were gonna be very close, and it's gonna live up to the hype here, where we are going to a final game, and what a war it's been so far, seeing just final tracks here. This one won't count, so we're not going to see what we had on match 1, where France had to go for the comeback. It is now just going to this decider here, and it's going to be DK Pass as the last one.
Yeah, so you know, now we're going to be looking kind of from the other side. Japan is going to be the one looking where, you know, you can't win anymore. But just get a good race, keep it close, try to keep the morale, you know, as high as possible going into match 3.
Definitely, yeah. And like morale is going to be a big thing here. We talked about the end of match 1 actually, where France on the other end, it's like even if you don't win the race outright, win the war outright, you are able to get a positive to get some momentum here. I think that's going to be a big thing here for Japan, because Japan's kept it close pretty much the entirety of the time, and it's just not enough. Ever so slightly here, just falling very short here of keeping themselves in contention going into race 12. The differential's been really close pretty much the entirety of this war. So if Japan gets a positive, it will bode well for their hopes going into a deciding game 3. And considering these two teams and the history they've had in World Cup finals, going to a game 3, not exactly a surprise here, and just a matter of seeing what ends up actually happening. Currently, it is Japan up in first for now. France a few spots right behind.
Yeah, a lot of spots behind, in fact, and it seems like they all have mushrooms. So whoever's in first is gonna be, you know, great back though.
Ooh.
From whoever that Liaz in first. Great back for him to slow down. Another great back from Liaz. As you know, I mean, that just took out 2 of France's shroomers and forced Huawei's to fail.
Yeah, we knew that Japan with item play especially has been really precise. You saw it with the hammers, and you saw it with the multiple backs there from Lee's, who's just been able to get so much extra value here. Purple was going to be able to move up temporarily into those top spots as a result, and it's going to lead to potentially something else happening here as multiple players are able to move on up. And now let's see what else is going to be happening. It's a lot of spots here for Japan, and if this holds, it could be just a good momentum boost for them to go into this game 3.
Yeah, 100%. You know, especially Liaz, knowing he just connected with 2 great backs, that's going to be a huge. Oh, he unfortunately seems to have failed at some point, and he's no longer in first. But you know, when the race doesn't really matter, it's not, the end of the world to your mental if you know you failed, especially when your team still gets top 3 out of it.
Yeah, guaranteed positive as a result. So even though this race doesn't affect the overall here and won't change the result, the top three for Japan is such a strong morale boost for them. And it's going to be necessary here because France is not a team that will give up these leads really easily here. It is going to be a nail biter going into this final game. France and Japan wouldn't have it any other way in the World Cup finals. We are going to a deciding game three.
Yeah, and I believe Huawei's the first player in the series to break 100 points, which is kind of, France, that kind of momentum is, what they're gonna be looking for to carry them through match 3 even and get the win. Having players who are gonna be able to score 100 points is so big at this level of competition.
Definitely, yeah, and really at all levels of Mario Kart, like the competitive scene in it really feels very momentum based, especially in like sets where you are having like multiple wars against the same team in a row. And especially in like a shorter set, like a best of three, it's going to be a big factor. Just to have any kind of momentum going from game two into game three, having the ways from France to offer that, being that kind of scoring bonus. Like you knew both teams have a ton of players here who are capable of scoring 100 at any given day, but being able to actually do it is such a big factor here and bodes well for France. But Japan just also has just race 12 momentum on their side. It's really just too close to call, it feels like, until we actually get into the game three.
Yeah, for sure. Japan kinda in a similar boat to France after match 1, at this point, both teams are just so good, even if, you're playing well, sometimes it just doesn't really go your way. Not a lot to really take away in terms of, like, adjustments, just extremely small things that when we only see one POV, probably not even enough to really know exactly what they need to change because both teams are just playing so well.
Yeah, it feels that way for sure. Both teams are playing insanely well. It really just comes down to like the little micro game, like the little things with execution as well. Small decisions end up being the big plays, it feels like the entirety of this set. It's been two close games, and we're going to go to one more. Before that, we are going to take one final break before we head up into the deciding game three. Do not go anywhere. We will be back very shortly with the final match of Mario Kart World here at the MKWC.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to the very final match of the MKWC 2026. Hard to believe that we have reached it, but we are in for a good one here. Once again, Game 3. We are tied up 1-1 right now. Very close matches. Really looking forward to match 3 here. I'm Mitch. I'm joining in now as Spicy had to go to work. So big shout outs to him for casting today and throughout the whole tournament. Really awesome to personally get to cast with him, but was really great to have him. But I'll be joining on now with AJ once again. And what incredible matches we've had so far.
Yeah, for sure. Both have been really, really close down to the wire. Last game, unfortunately, was just out of reach for Japan in race 12. But, they kept it close the whole time. Match 1, France kept it close the whole time. So going into match 3 here, you really, it's so hard to predict a winner.
Yeah, really anyone's game. And did want to point out as well, in match 1, we saw Japan take it 507 to 477. And in match 2, France took it 508 to 476. So almost the same differential for both matches. So very even, and just an incredible finals. I think this is going to be a great one here. As we take a look at the room here, we've got 8 in, so we're very close to getting underway here. Do want to point out, I do see Liberia in the lobby, so he will be subbing in for this match. Not sure exactly who is subbing in, but yeah, very interesting to know.
Okashi or Captaro are going to be one of those two will be the replaced player, I believe. So far, I'm sure France will just be keeping the same lineup because I know, those 4 BRE guys, they just have such good chemistry, and Lol MDR will ways, the 2 next best individually skilled players. So really, especially coming off a win, no reason for them to make any changes.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the core that they have that has been playing, not only today, but throughout the whole tournament, I think has worked really well for them. I wouldn't imagine any changes on their side. So very interesting to note there. But yeah, as we're still at 8, I personally caught most of the first 2 matches. I, was busy with some things this morning, so didn't catch quite all of it. But again, really close. I think both teams having a solid grasp on the front, just in general. Solid grasp on the bagging. Although I did want to point out, I think in match 1, if I remember right, there was maybe 1 or 2 shocks. But then in match 2, there was at least like 4, if I'm remembering right. I think.
Yeah, no, match 2 definitely had more shocks. And, both teams, they always are getting such great value out of it. We really have not seen, I would say, a bad shock yet so far in this finals.
Yeah, seems there might be some issues with joining the room currently, so we may be experiencing a little bit of a delay here, but yeah, as you can see, Captaro joining, so Liberia, I think, yeah, like you said, either's probably subbing in for Okashi, it looks like. So, very interesting to note throughout the match, Okashi being a constant front presence for Japan. I think that's definitely where he thrives the most is in the front. So very interesting to see him subbing out. Maybe, again, it is late in Japan, maybe just not having the time to commit for match 3, but we'll have to see how Liberia can do. He has had some strong moments, particularly on Starview Peak. We saw having a really strong performance against, I believe it was Canada when we watched them. So we'll have to see how he can, make up the difference, if you will, subbing in for such a big match. Again, potentially the biggest match of, a lot of these players' careers at this point in Mario Kart World. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, Loberia definitely has the talent to come in and perform. So if I'm Kusan, I feel totally fine making this change. And there is still one Japanese player left to join. So Okashi could come in. Not sure who exactly it's gonna be, because I actually can't remember who the sixth person was for Japan in the first two matches. I'm blanking a little bit, but
I think it was Purple. That's not in the room yet.
Purple, yep, good, true. And so either way, Purple and we do see it. So it is Okashi who was subbed out, which, like you said, probably just late, and especially tomorrow. It's already, tomorrow's Monday, so I believe Okashi's a little bit older. He might have work. He really can't be staying up super late. But if Loberia is your sub, you're feeling pretty confident going into it.
Yeah, for sure. And so we are starting the lobby. Again, the final match of the entire tournament. Really crazy to think that we are almost done here. Just what an insane tournament. And, we can talk about this more at the end of the cast. But really crazy to think how fast this has gone as we are entering the first race here. Whistle Stop being selected once again, a very popular selection for this first race with the starting spots, alternate starting spots rule. But we're actually starting on Acorn Heights. I believe both the previous matches started on Whistle Stop, so a bit of a change here.
Yeah, and both times France got the winning race on Whistle Stop, so it makes sense that, well, actually, I believe it was Japan picking it, so I'm not sure why France has opted to go for Acorn, but they have gotten two great races on it the last two times, despite it not usually being their first track. So, hopefully they can keep that up, getting another good winning race to start match 3.
Yeah, and we're off here. Kusan immediately going to drop for those shrooms. Always, though, with high roll triple shrooms here, really strong here. We've talked about this throughout the tournament. Triple shrooms being such a powerful item on that first glider can really put you in a solid spot in the front. We do see him using his final mushroom, and I believe he did, right as we switch screens here, he did red out the first place of Japan. So top 2 being taken over by France now on lap 1. We do see Kusan still in the back going for better items here. It looks like he is going to continue to bag here as he jumps off that rail. And actually, France giving Japan bottom 2 boxes here, but not necessarily rolling for shock just yet, as we now see a Wiggler spawning in on Wallway's screen, but not in the path of that glider strat, so no worries there. And it is pop-off in first. Back spam on the rail, not going to connect, but a really solid start here for France. Both of them making this no-item shortcut, and now it is on Japan to catch up with these power items or potentially pull shock again. We do see the bill coming in for Kusan here. But
and we did see the player in last. The player in last for France actually did go around the cut, so maybe a shock being used here right when they get on glider. No, not he did hold a bill. Okay. A little bit odd then to opt to go around that last shortcut, because now you see France bottom 3 really far back. Really hard to catch up here at the end.
Yeah, we do see Wallways playing it safe, going for the easier version of that Nisk, tricking off of the pole, as now he did back someone from Japan off the rail as well. A very confident top 2 for Popoff and Wallways here, but Japan taking pretty much all of these middle spots, 3 through 6, maybe even 7 here, as Japan making up for mitigating the damage here, if you will. As 3 through 6, very solid, very even race all around. But I think actually it's going to be a tie race.
Yeah, another great dominant top 2 run from France, which they did that race 1 of both the previous Worlds as well. So although they weren't able to really salvage any of those mid spots, knowing that you were so dominant in the front is a great sign to start War 3.
Yeah, notably, Popov has been considered a top French player for many years now across 8 Deluxe and now World, but Walways, I think towards the end of 8 Deluxe really started to shine, but specifically on World has really been a very strong player, not only for France, but just in general. So really, great to see him thriving in this tournament, as I think this is his first iteration on Team France and really showing why he deserves to be here.
Yeah, no, in my opinion, he's currently the best player in France and like a top 3 or top 4 in the world. So he's definitely, making a name for himself and doing extremely well in his first showing.
And as we can see here, whistle stop coming in for what I can only assume to be Japan. They had a lot of those, those mid spots entering the initial left rail, as we do see Walways pulling the triple shrooms and Feather at the start. A very strong start for him, but going to have to yield to Baku with the red. Gonna have to go around the Nisk here, as we do see top 2 of Japan, and it is actually Kusan, the man himself, in first, and both him and Baku make it. So they are in a very confident spot in top 2. The exact opposite of what we saw in the first race, is Kusan also pulling the Feather to boot. A very strong item for him. He will be able to maintain first off of this, but gonna have to watch out for the spike balls.
It's gonna be scary though. They do fall pretty nicely for him. He didn't really have to deviate too much on his path.
Yeah, but now gonna have to deviate. No, he doesn't actually. I think it was the blue shell was horned there by Baku, so really strong team play there, as Kusan now starting to break away here off of that horn. Walways in the back, megging up. Having a golden pocket, probably not. Actually, he's in a bottom. No, he's not. He's going to touch the box in 9th, so no bill chance for him. He's going to have to make the best with. Fortunately, a coin shell pull in 9th, not what he was looking for, as now he's going to have to drop and maybe go for a bill of his own. And he does pull it. That's huge.
He does get it, but, depending, it's probably not going to be super good because he's going to get this box. He needs the high roll, the triple shrooms, or else it doesn't really matter.
And he doesn't.
Gets greens. And he landed, I believe, on his teammate as well there. But I think
he gets hit through his triples.
Does get hit through the greens, which is really unfortunate for him. But I think Japan, while they got the top 2, I think they also got bottom 2. Which they did. Yeah. So, not going to be, the biggest point swing. If you're France, that's totally fine. They had top 2 on lock basically from the start of lap 2. So being able to get all of those mid spots behind, without getting a shock to break it up, most you can ask for.
Yeah, and again, Kusan with a dominant run in first, and again, a lot of that, of course, Kusan being a very strong and capable player, but a lot of his lap 1 pulls, again, due to this new update, we've talked about it so much, and I say new, it's not even new anymore. It's been over a month at this point, but
the most recent, rather.
Yeah, most recent update, allowing for those triple shroom pulls on first set and chaining that into a feather and also pulling a second feather, really, propelled him into the front and gave him such a big breakaway. And that's, again, a big result of the update and something we're seeing a lot more often. But Kusan really capitalizing on that super well, as we now enter Salty Speedway, a track that both of these teams really like, and we've seen very back and forth interactions in the first 2 matches on this track.
Yeah, for sure. We see Kusan is able to maintain first. Hopefully not getting trailed by his teammate here, which he is able to avoid. Shrooming up, gonna get this first item set in first. Most likely pulling at least 1 shroom, which he does.
Yep.
And, even the triple bananas under is so powerful because depending on who is in second place behind him, he could, just instantly trap the rail, and, his team will be aware that it's trapped, and they obviously will not take it.
Yeah, looks like not gonna. Yeah, gonna opt to hold, as it is Japan behind him, and I think Japan in a decent amount of tops at the moment. top 2, maybe even top 3, but bottom 3 as well. So very interesting pack split here, as Husan again is starting to run away with it, something he is very strong and capable at. As we do see Walways making his way up into third with triple reds now. He could go for some hits, but nice nanas laid on that platform and on the rail, so he has lost all of his red shells, and this is a very strong spot now. But more triple reds pulled by Walways, but he's going to have to use them to break the crates, and doesn't break all of them. Shot going to come in, though, mitigating the damage, but look at this top 2 break once again for Japan.
Yeah, I believe that was a Japan shot. You know, the top 2 breakaway pretty much solidified now, barring another set of triple reds. But they used it in, I think, 8th or 9th, and they had at least 2, maybe even 3 people all behind it. So, you know, top 2 solidified. The rest of the pack is super, super close and really could go either way. Well, there is a blue out, though, which I'm not sure he'll be able to get out of bounds here in time. Yeah,
no,
just
he'll
gonna
have to just tank it. Yeah, taking it on the cut, but again, look at this breakaway he had. It's only going to be Liaz passing him, and this is still a competent top 2 for Japan. But again, at least last coming in as well. Not exactly sure about the other tops. It is a top 2-4, but bottom 2 again. So, you know, Japan so far, they are being that dominant presence in the front that we are so used to, but not getting a breakaway race just yet. It's still within France's grasp, and they're making sure to keep it that way. As now we're entering race 4, and it's still anyone's game. Very back and forth. And, you know, even, again, with Japan capitalizing so well in the front, it's, you know, France fighting back in the mid-pack.
Yeah, France has done a great job the last 2 races to, you know, salvage what is looking to be a very dominant Japan race. You know, this war could very easily already be 40 or 50 points, but France has been able to, you know, really minimize the damage and keep it obviously within 20 even, which is super, super good from them.
As we now see yet another runner coming in for Japan, opting for Bazaar, but it's going to be MBC. Have we... again, I wasn't watching the entire match, but have we seen this track yet in this series?
Yes, we have. It was played in, I believe, only War 1, not War 2.
Okay.
And, you know, this is a track where Japan, that they had Bakuten was kind of alone in the front. He was fighting like 1v2, 1v3 versus France. And at the very end, Japan did end up getting a bottom 3. So France, you know, looking to try to kind of replicate a nice plus, I think it was about a plus 10-ish race, if I recall. You know, something like that would be exactly what they need to get, you know, right back to an even score.
For sure, and we do see this early game paying off quite well for Walways in particular. What he did, I think, was very interesting. He charge jumped towards the tires, but didn't run into them. He charge jumped, like, towards the wall, and as the tires were broken, he was able to keep his speed and enter the rail. And keep first off of it. A really, not sure if that, I would imagine probably intentional from him, but a really strong play. As now he pulled the triple shrooms, and he's going to maintain first here, starting to break away with that mushroom, but it is purple behind him, and I also see Bakuten on that spike in second. So not a safe position by any means, but a good start for him nonetheless.
Yeah, you know, you see, even though there is Japan is seemingly 2-3 behind it, but he does have a decent enough breakaway where probably no item except for a red should connect on him. He should be, you know, he's very aware he will be using the regroup, making sure nobody is able to throw anything up at him.
Yeah, and it looks like Bakuten making up some ground on him, and actually Bakuten, he does take over first. He was able to take the rail, so Walway's going to have to contest. Looks like no item from either player at the moment. Going to come down to this double set here. It is a red shell and a bomb, but Baku pulling a protection. We'll have to see what Walways can do here. It is going to be very hard. Yeah, he's just going to back and try for something else here. On the left set, another bomb. Going to try and red Baku off the glider, but shot coming in. That's going to save Baku and maintain his first place here, as I'm seeing a lot of both teams in the mid-pack. Not exactly sure who was...
Going to be another bottom 3 from Japan. With Bakuten again alone in first.
Yeah. See Liberia maybe getting fourth there, but that's about it for them. Yeah, 1-4-5. So, from what it sounds like, a very similar situation to what we saw in the first war here on this track, but Japan able to hold on to the lead still.
Yeah, this is just the third race in a row now where Japan is, they've got one or two people really contesting the front spot, but they just can't avoid these bottom three finishes, which is, come the end of this war, all of those continual bottom spots are really going to start to add up.
Yeah, for sure. As we now see a cheap selection coming in, and Bizarre, two tracks very common we've seen throughout the whole tournament. And again, we talked about him already. Baku being a player who he had some play time early on in the tournament for Japan, but not the main staple player in lineups. As like someone like Kusan, but putting in work for his team in this final series. Really great to see that from him.
Early on in the game, Bakuten was one of the best players. I don't know too much about what he's up to as of late, but clearly still a great player in the game. So despite his, him not being maybe around as much, he's still the same great player.
Yeah, for sure. As we do see, always flawlessly executing that turn skip, as now he's going to maintain first for the moment. Kusan behind him, though, so top two from both our POVs. But Triple Reds for pop-off, they are going to take out Kusan here, and potentially... Okay, I think the last red skip, but this is now like a top 3 or 4 all of a sudden. Okay, maybe just a top 2 now, as one of them is hit off of the ropes there, but always managing to hold on to first, as Kusan is going to once again take on the bagging role for his team, something we have not seen too much from him, as he is going to roll free shot at a double in last, going to pull build Mega, so no shock just yet. As we do see Walway's getting blued, he's going to have to drive off the track, and that's once again Baku taking over first, Kaptaro in second, so a confident top 2, but Valor goldening up, having something to say about it, as now bomb up for Walways. I think he does take out a Japan member there, a really great bomb.
3 people. One of them might have been a team kill, but at that point, getting out 2 Japanese players is always worth it. Does a very uncharacteristic fail from him, and at such a crucial time as well, where his team kind of really needed him to be up there contesting that top 3.
Yeah, for sure, but Baku does spin out. He is out of second place. This is, I believe, just Kaptaro now in first, entering the finish line. Very strong pull here for Walways, able to salvage some spots here, as I think this is a 1-3 for Japan. 2-4 for France. A very even race once again all around. No, okay, actually, some more France in the mid spots than I expected, so they might actually... Okay, looks like +2 for Japan.
Yeah, Japan finally able to avoid the bottom 2, but, when it's like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or something similar to that, that's not still exactly what you're looking for. Great 1-3 from them to at least get a winning race, but they really got to try to get some of these mids if they want to, start to break away and really build their lead.
Yeah, and this is not something... This is not uncommon what we're seeing right now. Both teams surviving. They're keeping themselves in it, but not getting any breakout races. It's just 2 very even and close teams, and what we would expect from a finals matchup here, and living up to their expectations at the moment on both sides, as now we are going for Desert Hills here, and gonna need some help again with this one. Have we seen this track in this series as well?
Yeah, last war this was picked, and France got I want to say bottom 3, maybe even bottom 4, but it was a pretty huge race in the swing.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what if Japan can repeat their success here. As a very interesting pull from Keptaro, he pulls the triple nanas in first, just going to opt to throw them away here, as Kusan is going to get taken out once again in the back at the start of this race. And that's a very great pull from Wallways here. Ghost into triple shrooms. He will just ghost immediately into the cut. Not stealing shrooms, though. Not exactly what he was looking for, but he could go for a play onto these Japan members here. Yeah, he burns his shrooms, gets Baku on the ramp here. Green attempt, not quite going to connect on the Loberia, but that does put a lot more of France in the top spots here.
Yeah, a lot of France in the top spots, but on a track like this where you save so much time by having these shrooms at the end, you know, especially when the pack, there's not really enough of a break to hold on to your lead if you don't have shrooms from the end. As Loberia, I believe, is hammered by Saru. Okay, now... Sorry, Mark.
I mean, I was just going to say, I think Wallways, you know, reading your mind there as he does drop to get a bottom box on that last set lap 2, trying to prevent too many of Japan from getting those boxes. But unfortunately pulling the bill here, not exactly what he's looking for, as the bill at the end of this track is really, really slow. And so opting to use it early here, but only a single shroom to follow up. He is going to go for this 2 shroom shot with 1 shroom, but going to get Megan on the line. Very unfortunate for him in last place. France being in first, though. So again, potentially another even race, a 2-3-4 for Japan. So it's going to be a winning race on their end, but nicely played in first place. And that, but again, you have to think Wallways losing a lot of spots off of that Mega.
Yeah, you know, it's just a little unfortunate for him. He got the box in 8th. Kind of low rolled, you know, only a single shrimp. He went for the strat there, which was good. Just, you know, everyone's going to be barreling through on that line. So, you know, Lol MDR coming through in the Mega. I wouldn't say it's like his fault, really, for that team kill. Just kind of, you know, you're always trying to take the fastest line, and Wallways just kind of got a low roll on the item.
Yeah, for sure here. Okay, we did see I was a bit confused here. I think a POV switch on the intermission here, as we see Burnout coming in, and a track that we've seen so many big races on throughout this entire tournament, and is going to get selected here. And again, if there's any track that's going to provide a big swing in either direction, it's going to be Dry Bones Burnout here. Excuse me.
Yeah, this track, you know, basically known for being like a huge swing. Another track where the golden at the end is so strong. Although I would say it is much more runnable compared to Desert Hills. Like the golden at the end is good, but it doesn't save nearly as much time as something like Desert Hills.
Yeah, I think because really the only shortcut, the only option you have is that ending. This, you know, beginning section and middle section, there's not really any place to gain time with shrooms, so it becomes a lot more runnable because of that, as we do see both of our POVs starting from the back this race. Both going to chain for a double here. Not the pull that Wallways was looking for, no shrooms, but throwing the fire, trying to get out any Japan, going for this cut here, as now he will be in the back, but Kusan pulling Shrooms Golden, exactly what he was looking for, as it is still France in top 2, I believe, but a lot of Japan with Shrooms in this mid-pack here.
Yeah, and, you know, the pack's still relatively close, so, you know, being in the back still probably a little bit better, unless the top people all have Shrooms, in which case it will be difficult to catch up. As we do see a blue coming out, so we'll see if they have Shrooms.
They do.
Looks like he was able to dodge it, yeah.
Yeah, nice dodge there. Yeah, Kusan having to slow down. He did have a nice trade there with Starlo. He greened Starlo before the glider while also getting back bombed by Starlo at the same time. So big trade there, but honestly, I think that benefits France as, again, they are still holding the top spots, but now Japan in first. They did shroom up at the end of the lap and able to take over first here, but he is not safe by any means. There is way more France up there at the moment.
I would say look for a Japan shock here relatively soon, because Purple went around the cut. We saw Kusan slow to ensure he got a dodge. I would say decent chance, unless Purple goes into a build here pretty soon, that they have shock.
Yeah, I think you're right here, as Kusan going to drive into the lava with the Mega here. And Purple, yeah, still hasn't used anything. There it is. Shock coming in, and this is a guaranteed first for Kusan here, as he is going to golden up. We see Bakuten behind him as well. Someone else in a star in
This is going to be a huge race for Japan.
Yeah, that was another Japan member as well. So
bottom 4, I believe, for France.
Yeah.
Maybe even bottom 5 with Wawazin 7th?
I think you're right. Yeah.
Bottom 4. 7 bottom 4.
7 bottom 4. That's a huge swing for Japan. And again, the track living up to our expectations here, and exactly what we predicted, as now Japan going to take a huge lead here off of that race with 5 left, still within reach, but what a huge shock from Purple there.
Yeah, huge shock, huge from Japan, or from Kusan rather, acknowledging, a track like this. It's okay if you slow down for a while. There's plenty of time to catch up. So even though he was in, I think, 6th, dropping back to 10th to get a dodge, not really that big of a deal. He was able to dodge with the golden, which is just so strong again.
Yeah, I think that was the best case scenario for him there, as he capitalized super well on that. The perfect item pull, like you mentioned. And, I wanted to mention this. Kusan having a really strong performance today, but yesterday in particular against Spain, having the performance of his life. I think all 3 matches he broke 100 individually. Just what a standout performance from him yesterday, and continuing to live up to that hype today. And really incredible that we've gotten his POV throughout the tournament here to cast. Just such incredible gameplay, and such a player who's continues to be dominant despite throughout all the years he's played the game. And so now we are entering Peach Beach here, both POVs in the back once again, but a track where you can afford to be in the back for many sets to try and pull that perfect item combination for the ending.
Yeah, for sure. And again, the end of the track, all water. So if you're able to get shot and have a couple people dodge it, get the whole enemy team kind of stuck in the water with no shrooms, going super slow, and your team dodges with, even if it's only triple shrooms, it's just such a huge swing on a track like this.
Yeah, for sure here, as Kusan now with the golden in pocket, a really strong pull for him. He is going to continue to stay in the back, and again, we know he can afford to do this. There is plenty of time, even with a breakaway. This pack split is not uncommon for this track whatsoever. Going to get mega though, so he's going to have to burn the golden to pull another item in a bottom spot here on this set. As we do see Always up in the front right now, a decent amount of France up here. He is going to get shroom boosted around, but holding this comic maybe it's just a straightaway from here, no potential target with the Kamek in this case. Going to try and high roll shrooms on this double, and he does pull them with a Rang in pocket. This could be huge depending on who's in front of him. No, he's not going to react until he gets redded on the line.
Yeah, and that's a huge point swing for France. I think it's good to try to be aggressive, but sometimes you maybe just want to think about holding your spot when your team needs the points that badly.
Wow.
It does turn into a bottom 4 for France, which is back-to-back now huge races, which, exactly what we were talking about. Japan, they've consistently been getting those top spots. They just needed to avoid the bottom 2 or 2 or bottom 3 even. And now as soon as they've done that, back-to-back huge race swings for them.
Yeah, and starting to have this breakout in the later part of the war, and it's something I've talked about personally is when you have these big breakaways in the first half of the war, it is you have the time to make up the difference. But with 4 races left, and now Japan starting to break away, this is scary for France. Again, do or die. This is the very last war of the tournament. They need to make up this difference now.
Yeah, if Japan gets one more race like that, I would, it won't technically be over, but if you're down 90 points in 3 races, it's extremely difficult to make that work. So France needs a big race, and they need it right now on Retro Mario Circuit.
We get another track with potential for a big swing here, but with Japan holding more of the top spots, you have to wonder how many of these players are going to pull the triple shrooms. We do see Loberia pull a set, but a decent amount of France pulling them in the back, so they're able to mitigate that damage off the first set. And Kusan now pulling his own set. Popov getting sniped with his set there as well, as Loberia is able to hold on to those shrooms, and he is now a little bit broken away. And yeah, look at all of Japan now.
Japan top 3, top 4? No, top 3. But yeah, and with shrooms up there as well, I mean, it's going to be, barring a shock, it's going to be pretty difficult.
Big hammers from Starlo, though.
That's a good start in the France catch-up, but still top 2 for Japan.
Yeah, that's Loberia and Liaz up in the front. And we do see, Liaz spins out, so and a France member taking over second, but he survives. So France are doing a decent comeback here. Dodge being activated by France up in the front. Loberia gonna hold on to first here, but I think France salvaged that pretty well.
Yeah, the good salvage, but at this point, they need more than a salvage. They need a huge race, and I don't think that's going to be, what they're looking for.
Yeah, at this point, like you said, it is not enough. They keep themselves in.
I think that was a tied race.
Yeah, they keep themselves mathematically in it, but it's not what they are looking for. As now, 3 races to go, they need something huge, and they need it. They needed it on the last race, but they definitely need it now. So going to be interesting to see what they opt for track pick wise. As Japan, they can even afford to, they can even lose a race by a little bit and still be very comfortable. They are all the pressure is on France at this point.
Yeah, all the pressure on France, and they're picking Crown City, which I don't think they've picked so far in this entire series. I don't think I've seen them even pick it, let alone have it be played. So a bit of a strange one, but doesn't end up mattering as we do go to Japan's specialty, especially now with Loberia in the lineup, who is, I've said it before, he's by far the most consistent at the start of UP NISC of any player I've ever seen.
And he is starting in first here, like you said. This could be the dagger. This could be the end of the war here. Very easily.
He does get the triple shrooms in first.
I was just about to say that, and you beat me to it. He pulled triple shrooms on the first set. That's a huge start for Japan here. Kusan with his own set, starting off in the back. Baku gonna go for a low box as well, try and get his own set. And France, they really need to take out Loberia here. They need to do something, but it is Japan in the top 2, and we do see Loberia continuing to hold on to first, presumably off of the NISC, like you said, but it is a decent amount of France behind him. Purple, though, answering with triple reds, being thrown at the glider. We'll have to see if any get hit off, as I think one player gets hit, but not off the glider. So this is still a decent spot for France at the moment, despite Loberia's strong start.
I want to say Loberia still has shrooms up there, because I believe he went for the shroom cut. As Popov hits a great back on Kusan, forcing him to burn shroom. But yeah, I want to say Loberia has shrooms, unless, they could always get ghosted. But they see him going for the rings, which does imply he has the shrooms.
Yeah,
As France does have shock though, but do they have any dodges to capitalize off of it? We'll have to see.
I think we do see
They
Valor
might be
using a
calling it
bill.
here.
But,
Oh no!
Oh my god. That is devastating. I mean, we did see Valor dodging a bill, so it wasn't the end of the world, but I think their plan was to hold it there and go for dodges. So now they are really banking on pulling something on these lap 3 sets leading up to the cut. This is, potentially really devastating. But Liberia is out of first.
Yeah, he is out of first. I saw Aftershock. I'm not sure what hit him. I think there might have been a red drone from second place, and he got shock-redded. It's kind of what it looked like, but it's really hard to tell for sure. And now it's just going to be a mad dash at the end here. The pack is so close. But it does look like Japan is still up there in the front. Oh, getting hit out, though. One of the France players did fall off in the cut, though, which might seal the deal for them. It looks like they have a lot of bottom spots.
Yeah, I think France get first off of that, but Huawei's bill only going to carry him to fourth. And no, actually, I don't think that. Oh no, he did. Okay, it was Valor. He was the player who did dodge off of that shock, so managing to hold on to first. But again, it's just not enough. It is just not enough, and I'm not sure. Are we at a?
No, it is still winnable, but I think it's 68 difference. I want to say. I'm not completely sure. I didn't look super closely at the score, but somewhere in the range of like high 60, low 70.
It is 68. Yes.
So yeah, they're gonna need to, they're gonna really need to make some magic happen if France wants to win.
It would be one of, if not the single best comeback in the history of the World Cup if France were able to do this right now. And I'm not ruling. Honestly, I'm not ruling it out. We have seen some crazy results throughout not only this World Cup but throughout Mario Kart in general. It is not well within their grasp, but it is the possibility is there, and I'm not ruling it out personally. As we go into DK Pass here, a very, very interesting track. I'm very surprised to see it here, but again, Japan, all the pressure is on France. Like I said, they can even afford to lose this race by a decent amount at this point and still have it be curtains here. So it all the pressure on France here.
Yeah, Japan really just needs like one player to finish in the top 3, and that will effectively seal the game right there.
And we do see decent amount of players shrooming up at the very start, and it is a decent amount of France, so this is the start they are looking for on this race. And this track definitely benefits from specifically the bullet bill being used at the end of lap 2. We'll have to see how many players opt for that strategy, but I don't know how much of France can afford to be in the back at all. Again, they need such a huge race here, and this is a decent start for them. As we do see Bakutin getting hit out of first too, so this is a top 2 now for France. A strong start for this race, but again, so much more of it to go. They need a lot more to happen here.
And if you're France, you almost need to not even play around shot, because you just need to have all of the fronts, and you can't rely on catching up at the very end when you need such a huge race.
As Bakuten back in first again, and Kusan with this bill, he's going to be guaranteed in a top spot and a mega in pocket. This is a very strong position for him. Liaz and a mega. A lot of France were taken out there with those power items from Japan, and this is suddenly a 1-3-4 for them. This is looking very grim.
Yeah, Waze does have the pills, maybe if they pull shock, they can make something happen. But they do have the shock, but you saw Liberia go into his star. And I think Liberia dodging that shock alone is going to seal the game most likely, especially with this Golden being ghosted. Maybe not even going to be able to hold on to first.
Yeah, I think you're right here, as it was Liberia in the ghost, and that's going to seal it. Japan are going to be your MKWC 2026 winners, and what a strong performance from them throughout this entire series. Big congrats to them, and what a race. 1, 3, 4, 5, 7 off of a France chalk to boot. And, you know, very, very predictable. They were going to be cycling dodges, preparing for any sort of shock coming in on the side of France here. But what a performance from them. Yet again, this match, a tale as old as time. We've seen it for many, many years throughout 8U and 8 Deluxe, and Japan adding another page to their story here as they pick up yet another win in the MKWC. And what a performance once again from them. Huge congrats.
Yeah, no, incredibly well played. Into both teams, though. You know, it got a little bit out of hand in these last couple races for France, but to act like it wasn't a close war the entire time would be a lie.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. There were a lot of strong performances from France as we do enter the intermission for race 12.
It's going to be a France pick.
Very interesting way to cap off the war here, but you know, do want to point out, yeah, like you said, France having, you know, arguably a more dominant run than Japan up until this finals. They, I mean, we see it on the scoreboard right now. France taking 3 losses, 2 of those being super early on in that prelim bracket stage. They were looking a little bit shaky, especially against Germany in particular. A big upset in that initial stage of the tournament, and now you know, obviously they lost match 2 of this series, so 4 losses in total, potentially the most losses they've ever had in World Cup, in a single World Cup, and still managing to clutch it out in the end. A really, again, really big testament to just how deep this team runs. And France, again, they dropped 1 game, and that game was, if I'm remembering right, it was against Spain in that prelim bracket stage once again. A really interesting addition to the tournament. I think provided a lot of, you know, excellent matches and a lot of upsets, but in the end, the 2 teams, you know, that we've seen time and time again ended up here in the finals, performing, you know, absolutely, you know, out of their minds in the bracket. And so not surprising whatsoever. I think both of these teams definitely you know, earned their right to be here, and again, really big, just really strong performances all around.
Yeah, no, 100%. You know, both teams, especially Japan, was looking pretty shaky in the preliminary bracket, but, you know, like you said, they've been around so long, they've been so dominant for so long. To think that kind of performance would carry on, you know, more than a couple games was a little bit, you know, if anyone thought that Japan was going to be out just because they did poorly in that preliminary bracket, they were out of their mind.
Yeah, for sure, as we are soon to be entering the track portion of this intermission here. It is Cheap Cheap Falls, and, you know, top 2 still for France here. They are in a solid position, speaking of this particular race, but right as I say that, a blue shell coming in for LOL MDR, but it is still going to be Walways in first for the moment. A nice setup here for Kusan as they are continuing this victory lap, and we'll have to see how the ending pans out. This is looking quite good for Kusan, though, I must say.
Yeah, at this point, Walways does have the opportunity to try to be aggressive here, maybe looking to back on towards that. This camping is going to be deadly. It's going to stop Walways. Well, you know what? He made it work. Very well played.
And he gets
Kusan. The back.
Very nice adjustment there from Walways to
does
continue.
Fail. Yeah. And eat the wall, but still a great play, and, you know, a fun, you know, a nice, good personal moment to end off with.
Yeah, and it is going to be Valor goldening into the finish line in first, and Saru in second, so a strong ending there for France. But again, the war was already decided at this point, as we do see some shenanigans happening on the finish line again from
the side of France.
From France, yeah. As we are going to wrap it up here again, a top 2-4, a very strong ending for them. But again, Kusan, 100 points. What a strong performance from him individually. Again, really glad we got to cast him, not just today, but throughout the whole tournament. Just such a strong player, and I think his stream individually, I will check right now.
It was at 13,000 when I checked a couple races ago.
24K now.
Oh my god, that
He,
is insane.
you know, it is worth noting, not only is he just such a dominant player, but has been the face of Japanese Mario Kart for so many years and continues to show why in this tournament. So, again, huge congrats to Japan here on their win. Again, yet again, another win to add to their book here. Added onto the list of their accomplishments. It is a long list, and we've seen why once again today. Big congrats here, as we may be seeing a funny ending post matchup here.
They're running one KO tour.
Yeah,
maybe
looks
this
like a
is
KO,
like
yeah.
this is like the secret finals that no one talked about. And they opened it to what appears to be a bunch of fans of Kusan's stream, as a bunch of Japanese players joined the room at the very end there.
Yeah, well, definitely want to tune into this here to see, are there any hidden strats here that we need to take notes of, as I think this leads in very well to what is upcoming next. The next big tournament on Mario Kart Central is Extinction, which is the big KO Tour tournament series. So we'll have to see if there's any hidden strats for players who are going to be participating in that to look out for here. As actually, we do see Okashi curiously joining Team France for this one.
Who knows? Maybe he's foreshadowing his move to Japan for the upcoming World Cup next year, or 2 years. Actually, it's not scheduled yet. I guess I don't know when the next one will be, but maybe France scouting out new players for the next tournament.
Yeah, we'll have to see how he can perform here, as again, all the we see the Bowsers coming in, being the strongest, or one of the strongest combos, due to the speed. Again, a lot of these KO tours are straight lines, and so having the speed advantage is crucial here, as yeah, we do see this is going to be Kusan dropping, again, trying to pull. Again, with the amount of time you have through KO Tour, you can afford to continue to chain boxes in the back and go for that perfect roll.
Yeah, especially on this intermission, it's very streamlined. Like, you can see, there's no shortcuts, so you don't want to commit too hard to the back. But when it's top 20, you really don't need to worry about it too much.
Yeah, for sure, as he is very easily passing through to the next round. And he still has a lot of shrooms to do.
Yeah, it does look like a lot of blue who is surviving round one there, which is going to be good for them moving forward. And it looks like Loberia gone in one right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right here, as not the ideal pull for Kusan, unfortunately. He is going to take a green shell hit as well, so going to opt to drop back once again. But I think it's going to be hard for him to get into the bottom spots, as I think a lot of the spots back there are bots that are filling in. So gonna have to do what he can here. Triple shroom pull, big for him. Going to be able to take this massive patch of dirt here. Very solid 3 shroom cut. Not able to get a double though, but more trip shrooms anyways. He is still in a great spot.
And there's a huge Nisk that you can take here. Obviously, Kusan has a shroom, but you can see a bunch of players will be opting to go left. You see Alkashi going. Valor, maybe not too well versed, but you'll see a bunch of players coming up on the left there. Yeah, Alkashi just landing. You can take that kind of ramp up, ride the wall, trick off the wall, and reattach to it again like twice, and then you land back on the track.
Yeah, makes sense. As now Kusan in a very good spot now with these triple reds in first, as it's going to be very hard for anyone to pass him here. And once again, on this combo with all these straightaways, he's going to start, and with a lot of coins as well, he's going to start to break away a bit. As there is another big Nisk coming up here on the left. You can drive through this grass right after this item set and cut off this gigantic turn here. But actually, he's going to opt to go around.
You know, Kusan, maybe he's not too well versed in the KO tour, but that one is a little bit more niche. You know, you need the food item, and it's kind of a particular respawn angle. You know, you jump out of the map and it respawns you. And I heard, I haven't tested it myself because I haven't played KO tour in a while, but I heard someone say that even got patched in the recent update. I'm not sure the validity of that. I saw Ruby in chat. Maybe Ruby could shed some light on that. Our local KO tour goat.
Yeah, potentially here, as again, the update, we've talked about it, how it's changed the item system, but it changed a lot of things, a lot more niche things, like you mentioned there, potentially those big respawn shortcuts that were prominent throughout KO Tour here, as Kusan's still holding on to first here quite comfortably. And again, with these 20 coins, going to be very hard for anyone to catch up, but we do see Valor right at this, right when I say that, shrooming up into first. But you know, Kusan with the red behind him, he is not safe.
Oh, no more red on the side of Kusan. He's going to be looking to get some hammers, though, probably. More for the camera side, but nobody's over there.
Yeah, gonna opt to just get rid of them. Another red shell pull for him, though, could be big. But again, Valor still had that mushroom, so he's gonna take this shortcut, and he now has a pretty solid breakaway here. But again, yeah, he's gonna have to burn the red shell, but hitting pop off, but trade back for him. Big play, as again, Valor's now the one starting to break away.
It looks like, at least I'm assuming the Goomba is Loberia, but he's been in first the entire time, continually holding the lead, and it is 4-4 going into the second to last section here. So really, still anyone's game.
Yeah, no, I think the Goomba is Valor. I think he switched to it for this, so that is
Gotcha.
that is Valor in one. And Kusan going for these food items of, you know, not an item we see too much in regular races, 3-lap races. We, you know, a few tracks that they can be utilized on, but in KO Tour they are a big component of a lot of the rallies.
Yeah, it's Crown City, obviously, the one that comes to everyone's mind.
Yeah,
I know you can also grab one on RMC at the start of lap 3 if you go a little wide. There's food there. Is that it? I want to say that might be it.
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, it's just
Nothing
it's
else coming to mind.
Yeah, much more prominent in KO Tour. As you know, Kusan is in last, but this rally has this section has a very big shortcut at the end. You can do it without an item, though. We'll have to see how many people opt for it. As
Yeah, I'm not sure
I'm not sure if Kusan's going to make it through.
Well, there goes Saru. Also, yeah, no, he's going to be out. It looks like a lot of the red team is going to be out. Actually, it was a 2-2 split. Actually, they did just manage to sneak in
a 2-2 split here.
But you see both of the blue team being on the baby characters, which are, you know, definitely going to have the advantage come to the actual part of the track.
Yeah, that is true, especially on DK pass of all tracks. As yeah, it is Riaz and Loberia being the final two from Japan. We see Lolem DR, and then I'm not sure who the second player is, but no shroom for this player in first, and I think second may have had one. No, they didn't. Okay, so France is going to end top 2. So does this mean that
I think France won the World Cup.
Yeah, I think we just hand the title to them off of this. I think that would be appropriate, I think. Yeah, and it is Starlo being the other French player ending up in the top 4.
Yeah, I don't know. Personally, I'm down to switch the title to France after that KO Tour performance. Such a dominant win in the the real tiebreaker match.
Yeah, I mean, the points show. I think that they won that by at least 40. That was a very dominant win. Very, very strong performance.
Mm.
But yes, they are switching again. This may be the time. Maybe they go for the picture in photo mode. That would be my guess. That was how, potentially what they're opting to do here. Yeah, I think that. Yep. So the photo coming in to commemorate the World Cup. Very awesome addition to the game. I really like the creativity that you can implement with this. I mean, there's a lot of cars here in the way. They may want to opt for a better spot potentially here, but yeah, really cool way to cap off the World Cup here with the photo mode. As everyone's lining up trying to get in the picture. Maybe again with the cars, maybe a little bit complicated, but this is really cool way to commemorate the event for the players.
See, I'm not sure what any of those settings are, but
yeah, no clue, no clue. But
see, lots of fun combos coming in for the last picture here as Pipa is blocking the bus from progressing.
We do see Luigi coming into frame too. Very nice to see. We see the cow, a classic. Wario with, in my opinion, one of his best skins, the pirate skin, and then the Conqueror as well. Probably my favorite character in the whole game. Love that guy. And now, the poses too coming in. Yeah, like we said, an awesome way to commemorate the World Cup here.
Yeah, it's super fun. And, it's nice that we were able to go to 3 games today because most of the rest of the bracket was kind of just 2-0 sweeps. So having something, and especially the most important match go to 3, really shows that these 2 teams are just the best.
Yeah, there were only a handful of games that went to 3, like you said, but notably one of them being Japan's win yesterday against Spain going to 3. Showing just how well fought these matches have been. But specifically on the Japan side, going through not 1 but 2 best of 3s going to game 3 in a row this weekend. A really strong testament again to the depth of this team. As now, everyone's huddling up here in the middle once again, commemorating this win. But this will just about wrap it up here for us. Again, want to thank everyone for being here and watching. Again, huge congrats to Japan on the very first MKWC win for Mario Kart World. And here's the final bracket here. And again, look how close all 3 of those matches were today. In the end, a really strong testament to how strong both of these teams are. And again, a match that not unexpected, a match we've seen time and time again throughout the World Cup history. And I think in general as well, the bracket being 16 teams this year instead of 8, I think was a great addition. A lot of teams here. A lot of the top 8 from the prelim bracket ended up being our top 8 here. A lot of strong performances. Particularly Australia taking their match to 3 games, Ireland taking their match to 3 games. So some really standout performances here, and really looking forward to seeing most, if not all, of these teams back again for our next edition.
Yeah, for sure. Especially like you said, having the bracket be a little bit bigger, it showed that those teams can compete and that the potential for upsets is there if the opportunity is, given. So, hopefully if, next year, 2 years, whenever the next one is, they keep it as 16 teams and we can really, see some of these lower teams kind of develop more in the upcoming, time and really be able to compete with the top level.
Yeah, and again, it is worth noting this is our first World Cup for Mario Kart World. Game is very new still. Again, just over a year since the game is released. I think there's a lot of time for teams to grow and develop and potentially come back in the future and have a crack at these, these top 8 spots, top 4 spots even in the future. So really looking forward to the next iteration. We don't know exactly when it will be at this moment, but as you know, in the past, sometimes it's happened back-to-back years, sometimes it alternates years, but we'll have to see in the end what is decided here. But speaking of tournaments, well, actually, first, personally, I would like to take a moment to shout out a few people here. So, as many of you may know, this tournament and any tournament that MK Central holds takes a lot of effort and a lot of time, a lot of planning, and a lot of solid execution to pull off. And the staff team this time around did a really awesome job. The event staff for planning the tournament, executing it, and really bringing this together. Scheduling matches as well is a huge undertaking. So big shout out to all of the event staff, the media staff for bringing the casts. We were able to get so many casts going throughout the tournament, and really awesome to see. And just a huge effort from everyone. In particular, our stream hosts. We have Ayuri, who's stream hosting today. Big shout out to him. I think he got up very early for this. He is in a not ideal time zone for this, so we really thank him for that. We also had people like Luckyo and Cesar and Nick T, and surely I'm missing someone else as well. But stream hosting throughout the whole thing. Oh, Astro. Yeah. So big shout outs to them and all of the casters you've seen. Spicy is who we saw today, as well as myself and AJ. But other casters like Bubbles, Nat, Manny, Jinja. We really thank them for their time and for contributing to this event. And all of the VODs for the matches are already on our YouTube channel. They're already saved. Big shouts to Dylan for going through and archiving those and making sure that they're available for years to come. They are already all up on the channel. So if you missed any of them or are looking to come back to them later, they are available there. Also GFX, forgot to mention as well. The main logo, MKWC logo from Newser, big shout out to him. One up for the incredible trailer that you've seen at the start of every cast. And then in terms of graphics, we've seen standings graphics, all of the stream assets, those were from Delta, Trash, and Neo. So big shout outs to them as well. As I think that is all from me in terms of shout outs. Thank you again to everyone for contributing. And again, thank you, Ayuri, for being here today, and AJ as well. I know this is an early matchup today, but really glad to have gotten some insight from particularly a higher level player for this.
Yeah, no, it was awesome to be added to the staff team to do this. I had a ton of fun, and hopefully I'll be around for future events. I would love to help out again.
Yeah, for sure. And it would be great to have you back. So thank you specifically for all of your help. Um, and if you are looking for, this tournament in particular is for, again, the top players representing their countries, but MK Central, a vast majority of their tournaments cater to any player of any skill level. So if you are looking to join our future tournaments, like we said, our next big tournament is a KO tournament called Extinction, starting up here in a few weeks. You can check out mkcentral.com and start getting involved. There's options for teams. There's also options for solo queue, being lounge being the biggest one, but plenty of ways to get involved if you are, if you enjoyed what you saw today and throughout the tournament. So yeah, definitely check it out. And I think now that's everything I have. Any final words before we end off?
I don't think so. I think I kind of got, my gratitude out of the way for you guys helping me, get on here and help cast. But thank you to, especially, I know this is maybe a little bit more personal for me, but a ton of people were supporting USA. So thank you to everyone who was supporting my team personally. I wish we could have done better, but it's hard to argue with, such a good final. It went to game 3, all 3 matches super close. So really, I couldn't have asked for a better tournament, finale.
Yeah, for sure. And again, thank you all as well, the audience, for watching. We appreciate you being here. And even if you were watching, MKFR, for example, or Sliver, who also did casting, we really appreciate the support. Continuing to, keep competitive Mario Kart at a top level and being broadcast to as many people as possible. It's really awesome to see. So thank you all for being here. The next thing you will be seeing, there is one more Mario Kart title with a World Cup. That is 8 Deluxe. That is starting up in a few weeks here. I think their matches start on August 14th, so just under 2 weeks from now. And that there will be cast as well on this channel for that game. And really looking forward to that as well. But for now, that is going to be it for us. Thanks again for watching. Congrats to Japan once again, and we will see you all again very soon.